Patriots, the Celts, the Revs, and the Bruins. Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub. Please leave the information. Sports Hub headlines.
Tanner Houck tossed a complete game, 3-hit shutout. Red Sox beat Cleveland last night 2-0. Houck, 9 strikeouts, no walks, allowed 3 hits. Needed just 94 pitches in a game that took 1 hour and 49 minutes. The fastest 9-inning Sox game since 1999 and the fastest in MLB in 14 years. Some injury news. Garrett Whitlock placed on the 15-day injured list with oblique tightness. Joe Jakes recalled from Worcester. Rafael Devers was in the lineup as DH last night after hurting his knee the night before. Ended up not needing an MRI. Tyler O'Neill's return from stitches in his forehead has been pushed back to this weekend at the earliest. NHL announced last night, Game 1 of the Bruins Maple Leaf Series will be Saturday night at TD Garden. Face off a little after 8 p.m. NBA last night, the play-in tournament in the East. The Sixers beat the Heat. Philly will get the 7th seed and take on the Knicks. The Bulls eliminating Atlanta last night will play Miami, with the winner of that game advancing to take on the Celtics in round 1. And Miami's Jimmy Butler hurt his knee last night. He is scheduled for an MRI today. The team reportedly fears it's an MCL injury that will knock him out for the playoffs. The NBA yesterday banned Toronto forward Jonte Porter for life for violation of the league's gambling rules. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Eastern Mass's leader in drain cleaning in pipelining. Drains by James. Slow drain, clog drain. You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We got more headlines in around 30 minutes.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com. On the air, online, on the air. This is how Boston sports fans start their day. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. 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 Mm-hmm. Hello. 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 Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Let's talk about cheese.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
What the
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah, right.
Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
I don't like you, Rock. You can't see me. Feel the pain. Boots to asses. Say mercy.
A little Jay Stu to get things going here. Thursday morning, Toucher and Hardy. Dan Roach is here. Fred's out. Wallach's out. Ryan Johnston here every single day this week. Love
Every single day.
every single day.
Say that with such happiness.
Happens.
He's a grinder.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I love Ryan and I love having him here, so this is good.
I love you too, Hardy.
Well, I love you, Dan, even though you angered me and frustrated me.
My wife said to me last night, she goes, how'd it go? She goes, did Artie like you? I'm like, I don't know.
Dan, you and I are
I'm not really sure.
You and I are something approaching friends. So should it even worry or concern you or Pam whether or not
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, of course I like you and I like doing shows with you. You and I did an audition show.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
when they were trying to figure out the sports
What year
hub.
was that?
I don't know, but it was 2009. It was the summer of 2009. It was probably June or July.
Wow.
We're coming up on the 15-year anniversary of our first fake show together this summer. Maybe we should meet up.
God.
Have a little something to commemorate it. I mentioned that last night, and later on I will tell you all about my trip to Gary Tanguay's class at
How was
at
that?
Emerson. That was yesterday. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, we talked about the audition process and all that stuff, and but it actually factors into what made me angry about Dan today too, because you probably would have been absolutely spun at how I handled my arrival at that class yesterday, because I got there. Some would say almost late. Others would say on time. There is another phrase for almost late, and it is called on time. And I prefer to be on time at just about everything.
So you
in life.
don't go Tom Coughlin time then, right?
I don't know. That's ridiculous.
If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, don't bother showing up. That was always the rule.
Yeah, that's fine. Then make a new time, okay? Because if you are one of these constantly early people, and like this morning, Dan was sitting in here by himself, I'm guessing for 20 minutes, alone in the
I
studio.
get it at like 2:15. Couldn't sleep.
Because this morning was it happens once a week. Wallach and I have talked about this. Once a week, you can't set your watch by it because you don't know what day. But one day each week during the show, the alarm will go off and you just say, "I can't do it. I can't move. I can't get up. I can't do this today. I can't do it." That was my day today. And of course, I got up and I did it. But Dan is always early, and we started having this conversation about his plan something early Saturday morning. Do you want to say where you're playing or what you're doing?
Supposed to, yes. Supposed to play.
Okay, so he's supposed to play in Devon's at Redtail. And I'm like, wow, how far is that away from where you live?
I can't believe you just announced that on the air. 'Cause now they're going to have to get extra security, and it's going to be a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
But they're probably going to have to offer me some kind of a round to come out there and play. Oh, God.
I mean, 75-year-old women are going to be lined up like 4 deep along the fairways.
Don't you remember? We went to the prom together.
Yeah. I'm like, I like Redtail. I haven't played out there in a while. You know, what Saturday morning, what time you playing? I'm playing this. How far is that from your house? Like 20 minutes. I've never been to your home, but I know what town you live in. And I said, that's not 20 minutes. It can't be. I look it up, and it's like 34 miles.
It's 31 minutes. What's the big deal?
The big deal is
instead of 20 minutes, it's like the Cape. Everything's 20 minutes on the Cape.
Okay, so that's
Roach drives like David Letterman, though. He's going like 120 to get there, so that's why it's only 20
Almost
minutes
there.
for him.
I'm guessing he is cruise control 6 miles an hour over the speed limit guy. If it's 55, 61. That's enough to keep moving with the flow of traffic, but not anger John Q. Law. Hello, officer. Are you a cruise control guy?
It depends.
Do you know where the cruise control is on your car, Ryan?
I use cruise control all the time.
No,
I am cruise control guy.
Dan, are you a cruise control guy?
I am not.
No. I can't. Oh,
I can't,
God.
Even if I'm driving a distance where I know I can just stay in one lane, I cannot.
I can't. I cannot do cruise control.
I'd be asleep in about 30 seconds.
Well, that's part of it. All right. So Dan says, don't worry. I'll figure it out, and I'll be early. I'm always early. I show up 15 to 20 minutes, whatever. What time do you get there? I get there on time for most things.
How about golf?
Pretty much on time.
Really?
I'm not a big warm-up guy, so I don't need to go to the range. I don't need to putt. I don't need to really do anything. So
I play worse when I putt and I play, and go to the driving range.
I mean, like first round of the year for me, first real round of the year locally is Friday, 11:30. I'll leave here. I'll go home, change, and even with having to do everything for the first time of the year and all that stuff, I will get to the course maybe 11:15. That's fine. That'll be plenty of time to make the 11:30 tee time and do everything I got to do for the first round of the year.
Well, you've already done most of the stuff you have to do for the first round of the year. We found out you were scrubbing your balls the other day and getting those ready.
Oh, the golfing balls. Yes. Yeah. Well, that stuff is ready, but like whatever. I keep my clubs there for the most part. They're not there.
I can't do that. I don't belong to a club.
Okay, but I'm just saying, even with the added stuff I got to do, I don't get there that early. Like at airport, you're taking a flight today, not for business, not for business, a little pleasure trip. Dan, you're going down to Disney World solo. Okay, your flight is at 1 p.m. today. what time do you get to Logan?
I'll leave the house around 10.
And how far is Logan from your house?
It depends on traffic or whatever, but it's like 40 minutes.
Could be 40 minutes, could be 2 hours.
So
that's the
so
problem.
a domestic flight. Are you checking bags?
It depends on how long I'm going.
You're not checking a bag.
Okay, then I'm not.
Does that alter what time you get there?
No. I'll get the papers. I'll have my iPad. And I'll be good to go. I'd rather be sitting in the gate 2 hours beforehand.
Oh God,
hour and a half.
Do you
ready
wasted
to go. Let me
time?
go have lunch.
Let me jump in here because I have to ask Dan a question because I'm getting very me vibes on all this. Yeah. I am habitually early. Do you have like a fear of being late? Are you?
Yes.
Is that I do too. That's why it's worth the peace of mind of being at the airport early. It's worth the peace of mind of being here
you
early.
Can sit there and maybe read a book, Hardy. I don't know if you like to read or anything like that. Maybe just chill out. And
Saturday
relax.
mornings when I come in to do the hockey show.
With me at all times.
Yes.
There is no earthly reason for me to be here an hour or 45 minutes before the show, but I am anyway. I can't live the way, say, Ty Anderson
Steve
does.
Burton.
Or Chris Gasper does, where they are literally walking in the door as like the intro music is playing, and they sit down and put the. I was here early one morning. I think I was hosting, filling in, and Joe Murray was with me, and Joe walked in at like 5:59 and 15 seconds, sat down at the mic and cracked the mic and did his update at 6 a.m. And he turned his mic off, and I said, "How do you do that?"
Yeah.
Like, how can you not be in a total panic when it's 5:57 and you're not in the garage yet?
Yesterday, Hardy, I was in a panic in my head, because I set one alarm and it kind of didn't go off. My wife's alarm went off at 4:05, and I was 5 minutes late in my head. I cut myself badly shaving. And
I started cutting myself while I was listening to Nine Inch Nails.
I was bleeding everywhere, and I'm driving, and I stopped. Got a coffee and the papers, and I was just off yesterday when it comes to being in the chair. So today I made sure I made good time. I was here at 4:53, and I felt better. And then I just relax, and then I read stuff, and I figure out what happened, what I want to talk about, what's in my head, and I do it, and I feel good. And I'm ready to go.
What if we found out Dan Roach was secretly a cutter? Push your sleeves up.
Fine, I'm not a cutter.
I want to say
the only cutter I know is Gautier. Way to work.
Drop your trousers.
Crawford.
I want to see the tops. I want to see your thighs.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are afraid of being late.
Yeah, so what's wrong with that?
Because
you make it sound like Ryan and I have issues.
I'm going to tell you my issue right now. Okay. Tit for tat. That's all it is. It's all fear.
Okay, go.
It's like Albert Brooks in Defending Your Life. It's fear. Everything wrong in your life is because of fear.
I'm with that.
Yeah. Any of your friends, their stomach hurt? Every single one of them. It's fear. It's fear.
Fear of my wife. Fear of my job.
Right. Fear of that. You know what I fear? Wasting time. I got a little bit of Felger in me in that regard. And if I get lucky, I'll get a little bit more.
See, I don't have a fear of I don't have a fear of wasting time, but that combined with the fear of being late, it's not a phobia, it is my biggest pet peeve is other people wasting my time. And I can do whatever the hell I want with my time.
I'm with you on that.
But when other people are taking time out of my day, which is part of the late thing, I want to be on time. I want to make sure that, I pay the proper respect to the people that I'm going to be with. So I will be there, and I will not be late.
And what drives me crazy with that is Steve Burton. I love the guy. Love it. He's like a brother to me. But him and I are totally different. I'll be ready to go if we have a 6:20 sportscast or hit or a show. I'll be there an hour early. I'll have everything ready. I'll have it written. I'll have it together, and I'm ready to go. Steve, he's the luckiest man in the world. Every time they have me print Steve's scripts, have his show ready to go because he's not here. No one knows where he is. And at 6:19:32, he comes strolling to the live area and says, fumbling everything else, goes on the air.
Okay.
All the time.
Is it a possibility
late.
for you to say, no, have him do his own scripts.
I
have him
can't
get
say
his own
no
stuff.
to people.
Why not?
Because I don't know. All right, I'll do.
What if in addition to doing that, you taught him a lesson and then usurped him?
Because I feel bad teaching him a lesson while doing that. Like if neither one of us was prepared, and all of a sudden it's like he's not there.
Let me throw something at you.
I have to be prepared. There's no other way.
Dan Roach, sports director. How does that sound? Try that on for size.
No, I don't want No. I'm happy being able to report.
That's on you.
I don't want to
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Lucky.
Yes, thank you.
I would say Steve Burton is lucky because he's got a schmuck who's doing his work for him.
You know what? This schmuck,
I don't know if that's
this schmuck has been able to go. I was at the Frozen 4 last year. I have fun.
Yeah, you got out there 2 days early and printed out scripts for every other reporter who showed up on time because they have other things to do.
No, but then you find out stuff, too. You talk to at Fenway. I like being there 3-4 hours early because you talk to the clubhouse guys. You talk to security guys. You get a chance to talk to the player, the coach, the manager. You get to see those
If there's
people.
something that you like you like being around a ballpark, that's fine. But no one likes being in the airport 2 hours early. Ooh, I'm going to go to Hudson News again. I'm going to peruse the periodicals once more.
I like Hudson News. There's not enough magazines made anymore. and they don't have the papers there, which drives me crazy. I want to read the Herald and the Globe on my way wherever I'm going, on the airport, in the terminal, in the gate, on the plane. I like that. I like to have that feeling, and now I haven't seen them lately.
I want to go to this nondescript, it might be Irish, might be sports bar themed place and spend $18 on a bacon cheeseburger.
I'd rather do that than be sitting in my car fighting traffic, wondering, oh my gosh, am I going to make this? Am I going to make this? That's all.
See, that to me, there's some excitement in that.
Yeah, see, no, I don't need that excitement anymore.
I love the competition that I have, this inner competition I have with myself.
I like it.
Can I leave the house after 11 a.m. with I tell you the last time I did it, I was in Las Vegas. I had to make it. I had one errand to run on the way back to the airport. I also had to return a rental car and make it to the terminal. I was in the casino, still gaming, 10:15 a.m. The flight boarded at 12:15. I'm like, I'm going to be cutting it close. I mean, I have my bags. I'm kind of ready to go, but I have to go out. I have to drive myself. I have to make one stop. Then I have to go return the rental car, take the shuttle over to McCarran. This was on the opening of March Madness weekend, too.
Oh, so it's a little busy at the airport.
A few other people flying back on that same weekend. I'm like, well, this will be a new record if I am able to pull this off. But I squeezed every second out of my Vegas trip. I'm like, okay, I can play one more hand, and then I really got to go. And you know what? I was still at the gate 10 minutes before my boarding group was called.
Well,
I wasted 10 minutes. I could have stayed 10 more minutes in that casino.
The only flaw of my wife, who I've been married to, in September, it will be 32 years. The only flaw, and she was a 3-sport Hall of Fame athlete at Methuen High School, so she's an athlete. My kids would know, the coaches all would know at any sport that they ever played, that if the kid showed up 15 minutes early for practice, it was dad. If the kid showed up 15 minutes late for practice, it was mom. And it just it drove me crazy. How can you do that to the kids? How can you make them late? You were an athlete. You know the importance of time and being on time. I get stuck in traffic. I had this going on.
On time, yes. I don't like late, but I don't like being really early. It just feels like wasted time. All right, what do we got? Seth Wickersham today?
And we have a gem to talk about last night. What a gift that was.
What, Heat and...
No.
The Miami Heat Sixers game?
Nope. 1 hour, 49 minutes. Gem.
The fastest game in the last 20-plus years.
It was awesome. He was a machine.
I have a feeling Ryan will do you a solid and lead with them when we do what happened last night.
As he should.
Okay.
As he should, my friend.
All right. And also, we're giving away Kevin Hart tickets at the end of this hour, 6:50 a.m., tickets to see Kevin Hart on the Acting My Age tour at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway, November 9th. So we'll be giving away tickets here in about another half an hour here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
It's Toucher and Hardy without Fred and Wallach. Roche and Ryan Johnston here. You can watch.
That's a legitimate question this morning, isn't it?
What?
Did you catch the game last night? You might not have, because it was only an hour and 49 minutes.
Well, we're going to tell you about it here in a moment.
I was settling into bed last night at 8:30, trying to get some sleep, and realized, I hadn't really been paying that close attention to the game. Looked up at the little score bug. I'm like, wait, it's the 7th inning?
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. That's a nice look. That's a real nice surprise. You can watch Toucher and Hardy every morning on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. Subscribe. Keep up to date with all the best moments from Boston's home for sports. Okay, Ryan, what happened?
Well, you know what's fun, Hardy, is when you score a run on a balk, and that's all the offense that you need for the entire night. It was not all the offense that they got. They did get one other run, and that belonged to Connor Wong, who went deep.
High fly ball left field. Kwan turning around. Watch this one. It is gone into the monster seats. Connor Wong, who's been on a home run binge as of late. He connects for a solo shot, and the Red Sox are on top 2-0.
Wong on the binge, thanks to Dave O'Brien and Nesson for the audio this morning. But it was Tanner Houck's night. Complete game, 3-hit shutout, no walks either.
And a ground ball to the middle. Hamilton up and over. And what a performance tonight by Tanner Houck. A complete game. The first by a Red Sox pitcher since May 28, 2022. Red Sox win it 2-0. Tanner Houck with the best night of his major league career.
Absolute what?
Absolute
what?
I think this is one of those nights where you probably get one, maybe two of these a season if you're lucky, to where you just go out there and you feel like you can do no wrong. You can throw no wrong pitch in any count. Truly feel blessed to go out there and just help this team win.
Well, it's true, though. You talk to any veteran starting pitcher, they'll tell you that of the 30 starts that they can hope to make in a season, 10 you feel really good, 10 you feel okay, but you just try to battle through it, and 10 you feel like crap and do the best you can to come up with anything. And that's kind of how it is. And he had one of those special nights that you get once or twice a season, if that, as a starting pitcher.
And probably not a coincidence that happens early on in the season. You're going to have the more special nights if you're a pitcher. I always think about that when Jordan's was doing one of their promotions for like the no-hitters and stuff. Do you know when the actual window for the no-hitter was?
Right. After August 1st, right?
It was certainly July, and I think it may have been August. I'm like, oh, these pitching performances tend to come in April.
Right. The dog days of August. Anytime between August 1st and August 3rd,
Yeah. When are the complete games, the no-hitters, the very rare perfect game going to take place? Almost always April or May, when the pitching is ahead of the hitting and these guys, their arms are still feeling relatively good.
Dan, are you familiar with what a Maddox is?
Yes, I didn't thoroughly know until the
This is like a thing. They call it a Maddox. It is a 9 or more strikeout complete game shutout, and in less than 100 pitches. That's a Maddox.
I mean, the Gordie Howe hat trick I'm down with.
Right.
But the Maddox, this sounds a tiny bit convoluted.
9 or more strikeouts, complete game, under 100 pitches. Tanner Houck.
And on a Wednesday.
The first to do it. The first to do it in under an hour and 50 minutes since Greg Maddux, 1995.
Okay.
Yeah, it was first shutout.
So can we change it to the Houck now?
How many? Okay, so how many games like that did Maddux have? He must have had
a lot. I think Maddux is one of those guys that you go back and they, again in the world of analytics and stuff, that he was probably the most underrated pitcher of all time. And as far as just how good and how efficient he was at what he did, he looks like the professor, and he kind of had that quality to him that he was just so efficient in throwing strikes and being that good. It's like Tony Gwynn. When you go back and look at the numbers of Tony Gwynn and how many strikeouts how few strikeouts he had, and how just great a hitter he was. That's kind of how Maddox is looked back now in the history of the game as one of the top pitchers of all time.
1 out of every 7 of his starts was a complete game during the course of his career. I mean, think about it. Like, complete games just don't happen that often anymore.
Tanner Houck, according to Justin Long from the Red Sox PR, first shutout of 9 innings or more since Michael Wacha of June 6, 2022 for the Red Sox. First shutout of 9 innings at Fenway since Brian Johnson in May of 2017, and first shutout of 9 innings and fewer than 100 pitches since Clay Buchholz on August 31st, 2014. So it's the numbers, like, he had that once-in-a-lifetime type of start. Now I'm always curious to see how they do the next start, because his arms were like, oh, man, I gave you a gift. Now you went, 1/3 of an inning, 6 hits, 12 runs. It's like one of those deals. But it was cool.
Can we talk about the balk? I didn't
know what it was. Did we ever get an explanation of what it was?
I mean, I've watched it several times now, and there's one move with the shoulders that looks like he's going into his motion. But Dan, you must know the exact balk rule.
On that, it's like, any deception, right? That's kind of how you look at it in that situation.
But it doesn't even have to be anything. Your intent was to deceive. No, it doesn't even have to be intentional. Right. But any movement that indicates you're either.
Did you see? I didn't see a false start.
But what is it? What is it? You don't have to know.
Infield backs up.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you don't have to know word for word. But is it essentially going into the motion or the term? What is it? How do they, in layman's terms, how do they define
the
it?
Exact description of it, but it's just basically causing deception or false start moves.
Okay,
I gotta go look.
Something that indicates you're preparing your pitching motion.
Right. When you are starting your pitching motion, and it's basically a start and stop.
Yeah.
An illegal motion made by a pitcher that may deceive a base runner. Right?
Yeah.
But again, that's one of those deals, but this is what drives me crazy about the Major League Rulebook. If we've talked about this before, I think, I don't know with you, but you know how they say did he go on a check swing, right? In baseball, when you're at the plate, Hardy, and you're taking a pitch and, you false swing or what have you, you always like, oh, did he go? Did he go? And people try to judge it. There's no rule in the Major League Rulebook to describe what is a check swing and what is a swing. There's no rule anywhere. Go find it. So it's just discretion of an umpire.
So whenever you're watching again, because I thought
did he go? And no. Or, yes, at first base. Right? It's up to them.
There's no rule?
No.
I always thought it was past the plate or cross. No,
nothing.
Not the case.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. So go feast on that one later on as you drive into Emerson or whatever you're going.
Major League Rulebook does not contain an official definition for a check swing. Defines a swing as an attempt to strike at the ball.
Right. So how do you judge that?
I don't know.
Well, that's great if you're an umpire because you can't get it wrong.
Come on. You want to argue? Come on.
And the balk is an illegal motion penalized by. All right, I'd have to look up the exact. Whatever he did last night did not look like a balk.
Right.
It did not.
No. I agree with you.
Imperceptible to basically everyone.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone on the field looks surprised. Yeah. Like the runners look surprised. Like, oh, okay.
Lively was like, what? You're not talking to me. I didn't do anything. I did that. Oh. All right, well...
And you get a day game today. How good is that?
Yes, you do.
All right. Is it a getaway day for both or just...
Sox are going to Pittsburgh, so yeah, they really need to get away.
Got to get that early flight.
Got to get there early to the airport.
Long way to Pittsburgh.
Well, if you were in charge of the travel schedule...
Oh, yeah.
They're not playing tomorrow, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You want you know what it is? It's a 6:40 p.m. start time tomorrow, so you got to get there, extra early because you're starting like 20 minutes earlier than normal.
Then they tick everybody off this afternoon in the commute later on. About 5 o'clock, there's a police escort of the buses to the airport. That's one of the great things in our sports era of Boston, especially, that these guys get special treatment to go to the airport.
When the Patriots won out in Phoenix, while we were getting buried with our second of 3 blizzards back here. And look, I missed the first one because I wasn't here, but I was back for the second one. Our neighborhood, or at least our street in Roslindale, had not yet been plowed by city plows. They're like, can't get to you. Eventually, it was days later. That was when they did all the plowing for downtown, I understand, has to be plowed, but they also did the police escort. Once the team finally made it back after they were delayed, couldn't leave Phoenix, they couldn't land in Boston, and got the police escort all the way up for their parade. And I'm like, you know what? This doesn't even affect me, and it pisses me off. They're shutting down, 95 and the expressway. They blocked people from coming on so that they would have a clear path, not just an escort, stop traffic so that those guys could get downtown for their parade. Meanwhile, the city is still in, a snow emergency, but got to have that parade.
It's crazy.
Those guys got to be there in time for the parade.
My all-timer was the Red Sox played, they opened their season in 2014 in Baltimore, and then they had an off day. On that off day on the Tuesday, they were going to the White House to get their World Series rings. And the media was invited, and so there were 3 buses. It was the team, there was friends and family, and then it was the media and anyone else who would want to go on that. And we boarded the buses at like 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, and we had a police escort from Camden Yards to the White House. And you're driving, and every exit shut down, every exit shut down, every exit shut down. It was the greatest commute you'll ever have as an individual in the morning. And people are looking at this like, who is this and where are they going?
But
back.
There's not that much traffic in D.C., so that didn't affect.
They're also used to it. There's like motorcades going
yeah.
by every 20 minutes. Like, you can't get anywhere in D.C.
Yeah, I know. You always think like Boston is still probably the worst, but D.C., I've only driven through it a couple of times. Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. And talk about no good time of day. All right. We'll find out what else happened last night with the NBA play-in games that have a direct bearing on who the Celtics will end up facing. So we'll find out about that. Don't forget, Kevin Hart tickets coming up before the end of the hour for his show happening November 9th at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway. We will give those away 15 minutes from now here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Tanner Houck, a complete game, 3-hit shutout. Red Sox beat Cleveland last night 2-0. An hour and 49 minutes and 94 pitches. All it took to get through this one. Fastest 9-inning Sox game since 1999. Boston and Cleveland wrap up their 4-game series with a 1:35 start time this afternoon over at Fenway. Some injury news. Garrett Whitlock placed on the 15-day injured list with tightness in his oblique. Joe Jakes was recalled from Worcester. Rafael Devers was able to DH last night. His knee ended up not needing an MRI. Tyler O'Neill's return from his collision with Devers on Monday has been pushed back to this weekend at the earliest. NHL has announced Game 1 of the Bruins and Maple Leaf series will, in fact, be Saturday night at TD Garden. Face-off a little after 8 p.m. Sixers beat the Heat in an NBA play-in game last night, so Philly gets the 7th seed. The Bulls eliminated Atlanta last night, so it's Chicago and Miami. The winner will advance to take on the Celtics in round 1. And Miami's Jimmy Butler suffered what could be an MCL injury last night. He is scheduled to have an MRI today to determine his status. NBA yesterday banning Raptors forward Jonte Porter for life for violations of the league's gambling rules. Investigators found Porter was betting on NBA games himself, giving out beneficial information to other sports bettors, and took himself out of games in order to hit the under on prop bets. Sports Hub headlines are driven by Polestar Boston. They're teaming up with Boston goalie Linus Ullmark to save you from boring electric vehicles. See the Polestar 2 at Polestar Boston in Alston today and tell them Linus sent you. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in 30 minutes.
Tatum's been spectacular.
This is Jason Tatum.
Right corner against Embiid. Tatum for a 50-piece.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Duncan just released a new end. Kevin Hart tickets coming up. Just a few more minutes before 7 o'clock for his show November 9th at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway. Great venue to see Kevin Hart, so we'll be giving those away. What else happened last night, Ryan Johnston?
What else happened last night, Hardy? Well, we are getting closer to figuring out who the Celtics are going to be playing in the first round of the playoffs.
Indeed.
The play-in tournament getting underway last night with a couple of games in the East. The Philadelphia 76ers claiming the 7th seed in the tournament.
Can we just have a moment and talk about the double elimination play-in format?
It's only double elimination for some of the teams.
Well, I know, but still.
It's a TV gimmick.
Right?
That's it.
And it's a way to get these sub-500 teams a chance. The double elimination aspect of it for, certain teams is stupid.
So congratulations to the Atlanta Hawks for their being the 10th seed and being eliminated by the Bulls in one game.
Good season.
All right, so let's get into the Miami and Sixers game.
The Sixers.
And by the way, Hardy, the Atlanta Hawks were 36-46 this year.
Like well below 500.
Celebrate.
So was Chicago, I think. They were like 10 games under 500 too. It's insane.
Yeah, they were 39-43.
Because you got to have that on national TV for everybody to see. Those two teams play a one-game playoff. Of course they watch. You put anything on TV, people will watch. You know that.
I was like Hardy. I flipped over after the Sox game and watched the end of the Sixers game, beginning of the Atlanta game.
Because, all right, it's a good game. Had that been just a regular season game, I would have turned that on and watched it. Oh, good, it's a tight game. Let's see what happens. The fact that there are two sub-500 teams playing for a spot in the...
Clawing and scratching to get into that next round.
Now, see, the last night wasn't even about that. They weren't scratching. They were scratching and clawing for the right to play one more play-in game. That's all they won last night.
Stupid. It really is. It's so dumb. Tell me that the regular season doesn't count for much without telling me. Double elimination play-in tournament for those two teams.
So the Sixers end up edging the Heat last night. 105-104 was the final. The big news for Celtics fans coming out of that.
And number one,
yes,
I don't want to gloss over that because Miami had a 14-point lead at one point in that game. And they looked to be well in control of that. And then Joel Embiid said, oh, wait a second. I'm the best player on the court. My team is supposed to win this game. And that is what happens more often than not in the NBA.
Well, let's hear a little bit of what happened.
Okay.
50 seconds to go in regulation. Embiid has it. Miami drops back. Again, they're in a 2-3 zone. Maxey comes to get it. Hero has him. 8 to shoot. Embiid with it. He's doubled to the right of the key. Looking, searching, into Oubre. Oubre puts it and scores it on Butler. And a foul.
Why are you pantomiming anything, Dan?
Why
are you celebrating?
He was given the N1.
He was like,
in my mind count again. The basket.
Yeah. Okay. Oubre. And one.
Thank you.
So the Sixers end up winning that game by 1, which means Miami now has to play Chicago for the 8th seed.
Yes.
And the winner of that will take on the Celtics. But Miami may not have Jimmy Butler, who hurt his knee last night, tried to gut it out, did not go well, according to Eric Spoelstra.
He's putting himself out there, and I really appreciate him for that competitive spirit. It really stiffened up on him in the second half. He was able to still move a little bit in that second quarter after it, but then as the second half went on, started to limit him a little bit more, just the movement. But we'll see. We have no idea. Right now, we'll see when we get back to Miami.
So the reports that have come out overnight is that the Heat believe it is an MCL injury, and he is going to have an MRI today to determine what his status will be, but there's a decent chance he may not be back.
Yeah, so I heard the initial reports last night and again this morning. Give it a name. There's a fear of an MCL injury, a belief that it's an MCL injury, two different things. But if Jimmy Butler is out, then that's it.
How annoying, though, is it the Celtics have to play the Heat? Right? It's in the first round.
Well, they don't yet.
I know, but it's like annoying. You know what I mean? They got eliminated last year by them, and it's like, here we go again, and you got to go down to Miami and the fake crowd and the fake noise.
And without Jimmy Butler, it's a fake series.
Right.
It's. I mean, it's.
Oh, but Spo will get them going, and they'll come up with this great game plan, and here we go.
Yeah,
annoying.
Could they steal a game?
Yeah, when Tyler Hero, shoots
goes
like
off for 50,
17 for 35, and and makes some threes, and they can steal a game, but that's about it.
I mean, you always give a team a chance, but it's a sub 500 team going up against a vastly superior Celtics team. I mean, it's unconscionable to think that they would give the Celtics any kind of a real series if it's them. So again, wasting time.
Annoying.
That is
Right.
That is the sports waste of time.
But that's what it's supposed to be when
by
you're
the way, Hardy,
number
they're
one
46
seed.
and
The
36.
first round should feel like a little bit of a waste of time.
But there are wastes of time, and there are you still want to be engaged, compelled to watch it. And if it is Miami, and
this is the NBA playoffs, though. The first round of the NBA playoffs is not usually very engaging, except for maybe one or two series.
I grant you that it doesn't hardly ever happen where the 8 seed gives the 1 seed, a real run. It doesn't go down.
They
that
get it
way.
over with quickly, though, right? Because it's Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, or something like that. So they make sure every game is visible throughout the NBA.
Yeah,
could you just play it?
Round 1 wraps up Memorial Day weekend.
Exactly.
So that part of it doesn't bother
That's what I
me.
love about the NHL. It's like, bam, here we go. Bruins start Saturday. They're going to play Monday. They're going to play Wednesday. They're going to play Friday. It's like, here we go.
Yeah, if you want to keep yourself interested, think about how pissed off everyone will be if they so much as lose a game or even 2. People will talk about blowing up this team and avoiding supermax contracts and firing the coach. And I don't know that it would be a completely ridiculous statement if they end up losing 2 to Miami. But we don't even know if it's Miami. So what's next? What's on the schedule for play-in?
Okay, so for the play-in, we've got Chicago at Miami and Sacramento at the Pelicans out west. Both of those games will take place tomorrow.
Wait, I
night.
thought the Pelicans lost to the Lakers in the play-in.
They did.
Oh, it's a double elimination.
For them, it's a double elimination. For the Golden State Warriors, for the Atlanta Hawks, it was not double elimination.
And
it was single elimination.
And much like Miami, Zion is hurt. Zion's got something going on.
Yeah, he pulled a hammy the other night.
Right. Okay. And Jimmy Butler still played 40 minutes last night.
Did not play well, but he tried. I mean, Spoelstra appreciated the effort. But, 5 for 18, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for Butler last night.
Okay.
In 39 minutes.
Let's do these Kevin Hart tickets right now. The Kevin Hart Acting My Age Tour is coming to MGM Music Hall Fenway November 9th. Right now, caller 10 to the Sports Hub contest line. It's a different number, 617-931-0985. And get a pair of tickets, courtesy of Live Nation. Tickets are on sale tomorrow, 10 a.m. through Ticketmaster.com. But caller 10 wins at 617-931-0985. Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ryan, anything else happened last night before Kendra Middleton joins us here at just after 7 a.m.? Anything pressing that we need to get to?
I would like to give a quick rest in peace to the Arizona Coyotes, who played their last game at the Mullet Arena last night in preparation for their move to Salt Lake City this offseason.
Yes, let's go from one place in the country where human beings should not live to a place that is quickly becoming or has become another place in the country where human beings should not live, and that is Salt Lake City, which apparently is so dust-ridden and the air is full of pollutants and poisons from various activities in and around the basin there that it is becoming uninhabitable, according to a friend of mine who actually lives there, who is willing to move anywhere, looking for ideas.
Really?
Where should I live? I'm like, why? Can't live here anymore.
Wow.
It's nothing but dust and dirt and poisons in the air, and there's soon going to be no water.
Where
much
is
like
this?
there's at Salt Lake
City?
Salt Lake City.
Wow.
Not a great place to be.
So I know a guy that I grew up with lives out there and loves it, never wants to leave.
Yeah. Well, I was like that in Vegas. I just look past the fact that human beings shouldn't live there, and that you're just depleting all the resources in a place that doesn't have that many to begin with. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Somebody came up with I saw on social media the best nickname for that team out in Salt Lake City, the Storm and Mormons. How great is that? It'd be perfect.
It rhymes.
I just like it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
okay. Later on, and we'll probably get to this with Kendra too, the unfortunate developments involving a certain NBA player who is banned for life. We saw this one coming.
How stupid was this?
My
good Lord.
A mile away.
There's a lot there.
Oh, man.
There's so much there. But for Jonte Porter, what he did and what resulted in his lifetime ban could have repercussions throughout the gambling industry. And we've already seen some of this taking place when Charlie Baker went to the various gambling entities and said, hey, I want you to remove all player props from college games. We talked about the potential pitfalls and things that could end up hurting the integrity of the game. And a lot of it was like, what are you worried about? That could happen anyway, this, that, or the other. Well, now it's actually happening, and now they have evidence and proof that it's happening.
Especially what this guy did. I mean, that's scary, right?
I don't know. I don't know if it's scary. It's remarkably stupid, and I don't know what John
affecting games, right? That's the.
I love the part where like tens of thousands of dollars are being bet on Jonte Porter's stats.
I know, right?
Really, that wouldn't throw up a red flag at all.
Well, it's like anything.
$80,000. I'm going to have 2 points.
Yeah, it's like anything else. A lot of these props, and we'll talk to Kendra about it. They cap the amount you can bet on them at maybe a few $100.
Right.
So whenever you try and bet 10,000, it's not like it's just something only within your phone that stops you. It sends up a red flag at, headquarters of these places. They're like, someone's trying to bet $10,000 on Jonte Porter's second half rebounds. What could this possibly mean?
Right.
Okay. Well, now they look at it. It's, very easy to connect the dots.
And then when you check yourself out of the game 3 minutes in on that same night.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Good grief. All right, well, Kendra's going to join us next, so all things gambling with her. 90 seconds, no commercials here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
WBCFM bus from the Town Fair Tire Studio, the home of the Bruins, Patriots, Revs, and Celtics.
On Maxey, step back three is good.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5 The Sports Hub, the Easily Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Tanner Houck tossed a complete game 3-hit shutout. Red Sox beat Cleveland last night 2-0 in a game that took just An hour and 49 minutes. Houck threw 94 pitches, allowed just 3 hits, struck out 9, didn't walk anyone. It's the fastest Major League Baseball game in 14 years, fastest 9-inning Sox game since 1999. Sox and Cleveland wrap up their 4-game set with a 1:35 start this afternoon. Garrett Whitlock placed on the 15-day injured list yesterday with tightness in his oblique. Rafael Devers was in the lineup as DH a day after hurting his knee the night before. He ended up not needing an MRI, so that's good news. NHL last night officially announced Game 1 of the Bruins Maple Leaf Series will be Saturday night at TD Garden, face-off a little after 8 p.m. I would expect that the rest of the schedule will be out tonight after the regular season officially comes to an end. Sixers edged the Heat in an NBA play-in game last night. Philly takes the 7th seed in the East and a first-round matchup with the Knicks. The Bulls eliminated Atlanta last night. They'll play Miami, with the winner advancing to meet the Celtics in round 1. We do know that Game 1 of the Celtics series against whomever is going to be at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And as we just mentioned, NBA yesterday banned Raptors forward Jonte Porter for life for violation of the league's gambling rules. Sports Hub headlines are driven by Polestar Boston. They're teaming up with Boston goalie Linus Ullmark to save you from boring electric vehicles. See the Polestar 2 at Polestar Boston in Alston today and tell them Linus sent you. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in 30 minutes.
Pasternak got that shot away. Shoots, he's got.
Hi, this is David Pasternak.
Pasternak for the long laser.
And you're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub. In the office, in your car, in your footy pajamas, this is how Boston sports fans start their day.
I bet you're just jealous.
Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Kendra Middleton is here.
Was dry heaving during my head.
Oh my God. No, I genuinely thought I was going to throw up just now. I'm so sorry. That was like the closest I've been to puking on the air ever.
We'll get to it. Kendra is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Yeah, the positioning is different because I have no need to sit at Fred's board, much like Fred has no need to sit at his board. It is a completely superfluous, unnecessary piece of equipment that costs, a soft 5 figures. I mean, that setup in the engineering and construction of this studio, as it was in the previous 2 studios, costs the company, costs someone their salary each and every time they have to build that thing for Fred, which he does not need. I've said it to him personally. I've said it to him for 15 years now. I say it now. And it's so I believe it is a control issue for him, literally.
You don't sound aggravated by it either.
It's ridiculous. So he can turn the mics on and off. What? So he never does anything with them other than turn them on at the beginning of a segment and turn them off at the end.
I think there's a booger between 2 keys right here.
And I do believe. See where the okay. So, Kendra, look down at those faders right now.
Yeah.
The one on the far left. Mm-hmm. Is that at the same level as the one to the right?
No. There's literally a booger between the H and J key right here.
And do you know why?
No.
Fred puts his mic volume a little bit higher than everyone else's.
Does he actually?
Look at it. That's where they're set. Okay? So, there's another thing. Also, mildly annoying. Whatever. All right, you got your board. We have talked about how filthy that board is. Like, just stuff that has fallen on it, dust, debris, boogers, dead skin. The microphone, though, is
disgusting.
Next level.
I just wiped this off for a solid 2 minutes, and that's why I was dry heaving during RJ's headlines, was because of the actual caked up stuff that I was pulling off of here. You wouldn't even recognize this microphone 5 minutes ago from what I pulled off of it.
Hardy mentioned this on Monday when you guys were out at the marathon and I was in here. You mentioned something about that microphone, and I just leaned over and looked at it, and there was like probably a 1/4 inch thick of just stuff caked onto the front of that mic.
It reminds me of the time that I came in here for Over Under, and I was sitting here wondering why, the first 5 minutes of me and Dan's show, wondering why your microphone smelled so bad that we had to cut to break because I was like getting sick, and it was because Zoe ate crab at that microphone the day before, and it smelled like crab to the 9th degree.
Yeah, so, but at least Zoe has someone coming in after him, Maz, sitting in that same position, and Maz will clean everything.
Right.
So, good for...
The studio gets a full wipe down every day at 2 o'clock, except for Fred's spot because nobody sits there.
Nobody else
Well,
sits
you're welcome,
there.
Fred.
Yeah.
I cleaned it.
Well, but Kendra was legitimately dry heaving.
Oh my
when she
God, it was
cleaning
so
that
gross.
thing.
If you looked at it the other day, you know how bad it actually was.
It was horrific.
Oh my God. I made Jameli look at it before I wiped it down.
It's unbelievable. All right. Well, good to have you here, Kendra.
Yeah, we got some golf to catch up on really
Okay,
quick.
so just very quickly, we're not going to do a bunch of Masters talk, but let this serve as a cautionary tale. First of all, Kendra was right. You had Scheffler.
I made so much money on Scotty Scheffler.
I had a really good weekend on the Masters.
I'm sorry, Hardy.
What'd you say?
No, I said, how did you make a lot of money on Scheffler? And Hardy went,
I got when I was in here last week, I gave out Scotty Scheffler plus 300.
I wasn't reacting to you. I was just
talking to Kendra. I'm not talking to you.
Okay,
Go ahead.
all right.
I just gave out Scotty Scheffler plus 300 just because I think that he's playing the best golf he's ever played. I think that he's definitely playing the best golf out of anybody on the tour right now. And
Did he have his baby?
And he was about to be a girl dad. That was my big thing. Was that
She's like a month away. It wasn't. They
really?
kept
It was
reporting
the
this like it was
biggest
imminent.
non-story.
She would have been very early if she went
Yeah.
into labor.
Right, so
over
he
the
would have
weekend.
had to go on because of his emergency.
I think her due date's May 12th or something like that.
Wow.
And it's their first.
Yeah.
I mean, just typically.
I said the same thing.
Anecdotally, do first babies tend to come early, Dan?
Mine did 2 weeks.
Doesn't,
Of course.
It doesn't.
Because they were so excited
No.
to get out there and have a
I
catch with them.
said
wanted
the
to be
same
on
thing to
time,
my.
Hardy.
I
You know
said
what
the
I mean?
same
She
thing to
wanted
my
to
wife
relax
on
and have a good
Sunday.
birth.
I said, you know what? First babies, doesn't labor usually take a lot longer too on the first one? So if she goes into labor during the last round, like there's no rush to get out of there. It'll be like 24 hours.
But not Dan's kids. They are so excited to get out into the world, spend time with Dad.
Yeah, and
Such a happy household.
Well, much like Dad, they want to be early.
That's right. Runs in the family.
I'm an
Mike,
early
can I tell
person,
you something
too.
creepy about my daughter?
Yeah.
That we were driving.
No, you may not. No, thank you.
Hardy, who peed in your cornflakes this morning?
Well, it's bad enough that Fred sits here and talks about his daughter's underwear being eaten by the dog and puzzling as to why that is. I had to listen to that for about 2 weeks until I politely asked him not to bring it up anymore. And then Dan starts the topic by saying, "Can I tell you something creepy about my daughter?" No, thank you.
I mean, who says no to a question like that?
All right, go ahead, because knowing Dan, it's not creepy as it is anecdotally interesting.
It's just strange. Is that we were? You know how you drive in a car with your kids, and when they're young, and they start firing questions at you, like why is the sky blue and why all those kind of things. And she, all of a sudden, my daughter, I forget what age she was, but she said, "You know what, Mom?" She said, "What? I miss being in your womb."
Ooh.
And she goes, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "In your womb, in your stomach."
How old was she when she said this?
I don't remember.
22?
But she goes, "Why?" And she goes, "Because it was so warm and comfortable in there, and I could sleep really, really well."
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that weird?
I saw a video of this little girl whose mom was like, "Do you remember the day that you were born?" And she goes, "I remember when I came from hell."
Oh.
And I think that's creepy and hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Babies and kids are so strange, like the things that they remember.
Yes. So there
Okay.
you go, Hardy. That was all.
Do you
Go ahead.
think there's a chance she actually remembered being in the womb?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why else would she say
Right,
that,
why would
Hardy?
she- it's
I
just
feel like
very
kids
random.
are so in touch with that stuff because they're so naive to like the actual world that they don't have to filter their thoughts like that.
Now, don't convince no filter and naivete with just being stupid and making stuff up and being liars.
Well, do you
And
think the
kids
babies
lie.
really know that
They
like they
lie
were
all
in
the
their
time.
mom's tummy like that?
They
Accusing
lie.
my kid of being a liar.
Yes.
Easy, fella.
She
Ooh,
lied.
get him.
Right.
Get him, Rochi.
No memory of that womb.
Leave my daughter out of
She
this.
was being precocious, and you fell for it.
Hardy, why are you in a bad mood?
Because I woke up this morning and thought, I can't do this today.
Well, I have
thought
good
of
news
me.
for you.
It happens once a week. I can't. It had nothing to do with Dan. Love him to death. Love Ryan. Was excited that you were going to be here. Everything was great. I couldn't move. The alarm went off. I said, I can't do this today. It happens once a week.
I have good news for you.
What?
We're going to the Messi game together. We're in the same suite for Messi. We get to hang out again.
Wow.
All right.
That's a biggie. That'll be
Yeah.
fun. Exorbitant prices for that one.
So let's get back to the Masters betting. You had Scheffler plus 300. I had him at plus 400. Let this serve as a cautionary tale. Just because Nikolai Højgaard happens to come within one stroke of the lead at I don't know, the 8th hole on Masters Sunday, don't put $100 down on him at plus 650 thinking you're going to cash that out for a profit within the next 2 holes, because he and everyone else, whether it's him, whether it's Oberg or anyone else, is going to puke all over themselves. Generally by the 12th, those guys managed to do it on 11, and I lost my ass on about 3 different players who I bought late because they were making a move. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get in now while the odds are good. And even if they don't win, I'll sell off before they lose a share of the lead. You got to do it instantaneously, and it did not work out for me.
You know who made the big difference for me last weekend was Cam Smith. I had Cam Smith, sprinkled in a little, like a win, a top 5, whatever.
Right.
I had him as best Oceania player, which was only like 6 people, but it paid like plus 260 or something like that. And then best rest of the world, which is basically just not U.S. and Europe. And he won that for plus 900. Wow. That was the big part of my weekend.
Wow. This concern, Hardy, did you see this out of the ratings with the golf this year? There's a
down 20%.
They were saying anything under 10 million average viewers for CBS's Masters coverage would indicate golf officially has a TV ratings problem. CBS's latest report of 9.59 million average viewers for Scottie Scheffler's Sunday Triumph qualifies as well under 10 million. So 20% lower than last year's audience. That's how far they've fallen.
I mean, you watched on Sunday, Kendra. Did you find it compelling outside of the gambling aspect of it?
Well, I was going to say I didn't even find the gambling aspect compelling of it. I think that the issue isn't anything other than the fact that Scottie Scheffler is just so far and above everybody else right now that there's no real competition or draw for people to be watching.
I mean, he is in that he is winning more, and he could Dan and I were talking about this. I think he could literally skip the next 5 starts and still maintain his number 1 status in the world. It's like there's no one that can
head and shoulders
that can catch him. Having said that, he didn't play great for the entirety of the tournament.
He just happened to putt better than I expected him to be honest. That was the big difference.
All the different metrics are being used in golf now with strokes gained, and approach shots and putting and all that stuff. He wasn't, it's not for Scottie Scheffler. He was okay, by his own standard, but
and combine that with Rory hasn't won in 10 months. Spieth, Thomas, Schauffele, Cantlay haven't won in 2 years.
Well, you go back, and if you want to just limit it to majors, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson have won majors more recently than Jordan Spieth or Rory McIlroy.
The story
Tiger and Phil have won a major more recently than Rory or Jordan Spieth.
The story of the weekend for me was that I think Rory is going to go to LIV.
No, he's not.
No.
I just like to troll.
Yeah, well,
he's the face of it, but I would laugh so hard if that happened.
I mean, you can't say never because of the heel turn of the PGA Tour and everything that they tried to accomplish with that, but Rory came out and threw a bunch of cold water on that. All right, let's talk about this Jonte Porter situation. Okay. So Jonte Porter was obviously betting on himself to lose. He was betting on his team to lose. He was betting on, or he was involved in a conspiracy to go under on a bunch of his stats. We talked about the story when it first happened. Now he has been banned from the league after the investigation revealed he, as they put it, disclosed confidential information to bettors, limited his participation in at least one game while he was with the Raptors, and yes, bet on NBA games while he was playing in the G League. So, how much of a blow is this to the industry as a whole, and what do you think it could mean going forward for players and prop bets, especially players like Jonte Porter?
So I have a couple feelings about this. Do I think it's the right decision? Absolutely. This isn't the first time Adam Silver's done this. He did it shortly after he was, became the commissioner in 2014 to another player. I think he was on the Clippers. But I think that you have to make an example out of players when things like this happen. But the issue that I have with gambling around the leagues as a whole is how are leagues and teams and whatever going to sit here and take all of this massive money from DraftKings, advertise it on the court, advertise it during commercial breaks, advertise it, on the app, on this, on that, on here, on there, and take all of this money and maybe potentially let this influence games. I get why players can't gamble, but if these leagues and these teams can take money from gambling, it should be all around. Nobody can. Either everybody or nobody.
Okay. Is there some middle ground, though, where you say, okay, for a certain player, and maybe it's a money thing, like somebody like Jonte Porter, who is making $500,000 a year. Players like that could easily be swayed by, the one bettor who reportedly, according to the investigation, placed an $80,000 same-game parlay bet on unders, having to do with Jonte Porter, would have paid out $1.1 million. DraftKings did not pay out on it because all the red flags went up. How about if they just limited, look, if there's a guy like a bench player, you can't bet more than X amount on anything having to do with his props for a certain game.
No, because what's the difference between that and like an athletic trainer that's making probably like $80K, having all of the same information that you do, and their ability to gamble? Like, they're making less money than you, so they can't go. I'm assuming they probably have in their contracts that they can't go out there and gamble. Anybody relatively close to the team?
Anybody close to the team?
No
gambling.
None.
Period.
Yeah.
You can't have it. Just while you're playing. That's it.
Yeah,
you
if you
can't
want
have it.
The big conversation is the integrity of the game. And if you want to keep the game integral, these leagues, nobody should be allowed to gamble. Only the general public, whatever. And I think that that's like the part about it that you have to put your social security number in to gamble, right? So I don't understand why this is even a question in the first place.
Okay, I'm just saying
I get your point.
Jonte Porter, we talked about, like, how much money could he possibly have made by giving out this information? Well, it sounds like he was trying to make himself at least half of $1.1 million, which would have doubled his salary for the year.
But you're an NBA player. You can just go out there and make content.
All right, go put it in the stock market.
Go make a video
do
with literally anybody will. Dude, I have.
But that's work. Jonte Porter said, this is the easiest way out ever. I can make $500,000. All I have to do is pull myself out of the game after 3.5 minutes.
But then you're risking the rest of the money that you're ever going to make in the NBA.
He obviously didn't think so, and the only reason why I had the ability to do it is because all these bets exist for these random-ass obscure things having to do with his specific stat lines on a given night. What if you just remove those from the betting sites?
Well, why is it anybody's fault that his frontal lobe is only medium rare and not well done?
Who is it really going to punish? Is it going to punish the light? Did you spend a lot of
the game, though? Other people that gambled on that game. If he comes out of the game in X amount of minutes because he's supposedly ill,
I'm not.
It's the integrity of the game.
You're missing my point. Ban Jonte Porter. Get rid of him. But if you want to prevent this from happening in the future, take these lower level players, remove their betting options and the props on these guys from the websites. That's what Charlie Baker wants. Get rid of all
that's fine then.
all props
okay
for players. And that's what I'm saying. Remove the props for bench players or for non-starters or something. Anybody who would stand to make more from a bet winning on an under or an over or anything.
But see,
anybody and it's you don't have to do it for LeBron James.
But
you don't
that
have to do it.
like the general public and people who actually follow the sport. Why are you going to punish the masses? Because
you're not punishing them. You're just taking away options. It's not a punishment.
I don't know. It kind of feels like a punishment. Like, what did I do to deserve this?
What was me?
You didn't do anything, but the temptation obviously is, I think it's greater than what they gave it credit for.
I think you should just remove all of the temptation from the locker room, from the court, all of that kind of stuff. Take the DraftKings logos off the court. Take everything out of the locker room.
That's not why he bet.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you want to talk about temptation, how is it not the same?
The temptation is to make money. The temptation is not there because he was compelled to do it because he saw a DraftKings logo.
Whether the league is in bed with DraftKings or FanDuel or anybody like that, they're still legal out there. So whether the league's taking that money or not, there's still going to be an operation. People are going to be placing bets, and there's going to be a draw for anybody who has inside information to place those bets. So, at least when the league's taking in the money from commercials and logos and all of that, some of that money ends up back in the player's pocket in the form of salaries too.
But it's pretty simple to me. It's just you got to put it in a contract. Look you in the face and look you in the eye and say, Hardy, you want to be an NBA player?
Right.
You're not allowed to gamble.
I agree with
at
you
all.
100%. That should not be that's a big not my problem operation.
That nobody can gamble. Nobody can gamble who's involved with the team, plays on the team, anything like that. I'm saying if you because this will happen again.
Right, I know what you're saying. You're saying get rid of the lower prop bets, but then you start to say, well, can we include a sixth man who's invaluable? And then it becomes a starter. Does that change?
Yeah, well, there's
So
the entire industry is
if three
filled
guys
with
are
rules
hurt
and
and don't
regulations.
play.
What you can bet on, what you can't bet on. Yeah, you might have to include a few more.
I think it's going to happen no matter what, though.
All right, wait, I'm sorry, Brian. Whatever point you have to make, we have to do it.
I was just going to ask a quick question, which is, it's easy to ban Jonte Porter. Who is he? If it were LeBron, let's say,
Or Giannis with
does Adam
his injury.
Silver have the guts to do that?
We'll find out. We will continue. Kendra's, you stick around for one more?
Oh, yeah.
All
Totally.
right, just a few more minutes. All right, let's do that here on Toucher and Hardy, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Right? Thank you. Make every moment more with FanDuel here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
The 80.
time to get in on some NBA. If you haven't bet long-term NBA odds to win the championship or something, what are the bets right now that have the best value for? But let's do NBA and NHL as we get into the playoffs here.
So for the NHL, I have futures on the Rangers and I have futures on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay.
Whenever I'm betting in the postseason, I like to get a team with good odds, and I like to get a team with maybe not the greatest odds, but still, maybe plus money, just under plus money right now before things get kicked off. So for in the NBA, I have the New York Knicks as my kind of underdog. I don't think that they have a real shot, but the odds were really good. And
do you bet by series or do you bet by winning at all?
He asked me for futures. I do have series bets as well, but for futures, I have the New York Knicks, and then I also have the Nuggets. I get that the Nuggets are the,
chalk.
Yeah, so chalky, but I think that there's still value with them right now. So
it's hard to bet against them. What are their odds right now for Western Conference?
Let me grab them on my phone.
Okay.
I took them yesterday.
Because again, that's something to me that is very, very chalky. But it also, how could you reasonably, as somebody who's watched any basketball this year, bet against them to at least make the NBA Finals?
The Nuggets are plus
Plus
135. I got them into Western Conference winner.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a Western Conference winner. To win it all right now, they are plus 300 on DraftKings. I know that I have to give DraftKings odds. I did not take them on DraftKings, so I wanted to make sure that I was giving out the numbers that our sponsor has. But I still think that the Celtics are plus 150, and I just don't love that.
Can I say something stupid?
Yeah, go for it.
What does that mean?
You have to bet $150 to win 100.
No, other way around because it's plus. So
I'm
$100
sorry.
bet will win you 150
Right. Sorry.
profit
Okay.
on
Duh.
the Celtics.
Duh.
Yeah, so
minus 150.
So you get your original
So
bet
plus
back.
300 is a better bet?
Yes,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's better
that's
odds.
basically 3 to 1. You bet 100, you win 300.
So So like, let's say you
Sorry.
put $100 down on the Celtics, you would get your $100 back and that $150.
Okay.
It's odds of 1.5. You just move the decimal over. I don't know why they do it.
I would love to turn you into a degenerate gambler.
No, thanks. I'm not good at it.
Well, we already learned he's a cutter this morning, so why not add that to
You
the
got a better chance
cutter.
of turning him into a chronically late
No, but
person.
you know what I used to bet a lot was the horses.
Oh.
Because my parents owned
Sport of Kings.
The Kentucky Derby's coming
my
up.
dad actually had a breeding farm for a brief period of time in Ocala, Florida, and we
Hell yeah! Shout out
we
Ocala.
raced horses around the country and things like that when I was
Yeah.
a kid.
Privileged upbringing. I had no idea.
It's not privileged. We were bankrupt a lot and everything else. My dad was one of those.
He didn't mean he was good at it.
Yeah, exactly. My dad was one of those people that got looked over for the nephew of the guy, the owner of the company, for the presidency or vice presidency of a company. And that day he left and he said, I'm going to start businesses. So we were up and down. We get a good business, we get a bad business. He'd sell it, he'd buy it. He'd sell it, he'd buy it. And he bought when he made a lot of money. He decided to spend way too much money onto buying horses, and bought a farm, and then bred horses, and then it just disappeared because all of our bread and butter horses were getting hurt and things like that. It was like the Red Sox, and they just couldn't do it, and we lost it all. And then he just went to the next business.
Did this affect you and your relationship with your father? Would you
we're getting
sometimes
deep.
ask him to
Fred, no.
Can we go have a catch? No, I got this nag with a bad hoof. I got to go put her down. I have time to throw a ball.
My dad was laid back. He was fine. He was good. You know what I mean?
love that it was in Ocala because that's like the last of the deep south, in my opinion. Then in its Heaven's Waiting Room in North Cuba down.
Okay.
Oh.
Ocala is like the last of like the truth south in Florida.
Okay.
It was interesting.
But anyways, so as far as NBA kind of series stuff that I like, I really kind of love. It's not that I love the Magic in the matchup against Cleveland. It's just that I hate the price that Cleveland has right now. They're minus 195 to win the series. So I threw a little bit of money on the Magic. I also love the Mavericks against the Clippers. I think that series could maybe be done in 5 or 6. There are some odds for the series to go under 5.5 on DraftKings plus money right now. I don't hate that. As far as NHL stuff, RJ, do you have any NHL bets?
I haven't really looked at it yet. I've been kind of focused on the Bruins this week, so I haven't really.
What are the Bruins?
What's that?
What are the Bruins to win it this year, and what are the Bruins
to
win
win
at this time last
Bruins
year?
to win it all are going at 11-1 right now.
Okay.
They are the 7th highest pick. Carolina Hurricanes being the favorite to win it all.
Are they really?
At plus 650 is Crazy to me.
And were the Bruins the heavy favorite at this time last year?
There was a crazy bet available,
Yes.
I would say, with 2 months left in the regular season, right around the time mobile betting became legal in Massachusetts, for either the Celtics or the Bruins to win the championship, right? And it was like,
I remember this.
Celtics win the NBA championship, or in addition to, it could be either or both, the Bruins win the Stanley Cup. And the number was like plus 250, which was a ridiculously
at the time
low. It's like you're only, wait a second.
Right.
You're betting
way
on
higher than that.
And yeah, you should get better odds, but both teams were so unbelievably good. It was just, well, one of them's going to win, so we can't give out too much money if one of them does, and then we all saw
what would you get
happened.
if you bet both?
I was just looking 29-1 are the odds right now for
that's what I
the
$2
the Boston double.
I really like. I can't disagree with the odds makers right now. After the Hurricanes added Jake Gensel from the Penguins, I just think that they are lights out, ready to win a cup right now. They're best players, and like Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov have really kind of matured in a point that you really want to see in an NHL team right now. They're at the perfect age to win a cup. They're playing really good right now. Like obviously they are, but they're the odds-on favorite. But
they have a home crowd advantage.
Yeah, that
according to
addition
Hardy.
of Jake Gensel really just made the difference for me, and I really want Brent Burns to win a cup. I don't care where it is. So I'm rocking with them. I do think the Rangers still have really good value at plus 800. Like their goaltending, I think, could really take them through the stretch of it. But yeah, I'm more into the NBA playoffs right now from a betting perspective because I think that there's better odds and more money to be made. But I prefer to consume the Stanley Cup playoffs because I'm such a hockey fan.
Okay.
So.
All right. Any ridiculous, degenerate Formula One bets or something? You wanna get out
Ooh,
there?
I haven't looked at the odds. I was watching practice this morning.
You're watching Formula One practice?
Yes. Is that shocking to you?
No, must have been thrilling.
I mean, Max is anytime.
I watch guys on the range. I'll watch
That's true,
the
Artie.
range feed
Yeah.
from the Masters, so I guess it's no more ridiculous
Nope.
than that.
And people love it. Man, people your age is just like so into F1.
It's the
Art's
best.
insane.
I'm going to
Your
the,
kids? Yeah. Because of that show. The Netflix
Drive to
show.
Survive. I'm
Yeah.
going to the launch party for the new arcade tonight in Seaport. Everybody go check it out, but make sure you make reservations now because they're booked out like a month. It's so fun, so worth it. The simulations are so hard, but the food's really good. But I will say, I wouldn't say that this is a degenerate bet, but anytime that Max Verstappen's better odds than minus 500 to win a race, I'll take him. He's minus 450 right now if you feel like throwing a couple shekels on there.
Who is?
Max Verstappen.
Gotcha.
He's basically like
I know that.
Okay. And then for a podium finish, if I had to pick a degenerate, I would say maybe Lewis Hamilton plus 1,000 for a podium finish.
He's on the downside of his career,
Well,
right?
so he just signed a new contract to go from, he's been with Mercedes for ever. He's won all of his championships with Mercedes, but he is going to Ferrari starting next year. As much as I don't love the Mercedes car this year, and it's been very clear that he doesn't either, he has kind of been on like an upward trajectory the last two races. So I could see something going his way and maybe him potentially getting a podium in this race, but that is just a degenerate play if you want an actual play. Anytime that Carlos Sainz has decent odds to podium at this point, minus 150, I'm booking it.
Would you watch Formula One if you couldn't bet on it?
I watched Formula One before I could bet, so yes.
Okay, all right. I
really
didn't know if it's
Is
like
it-
a horse racing thing. Like nobody would watch.
I have to ask this
Nobody would
because-
watch horse racing if they couldn't bet on it.
I don't
Except it's
mind
Saratoga.
watching auto racing. Like I'll check out the NASCAR race on a Sunday afternoon when there's nothing going on. But Verstappen wins like every week, right?
Yeah,
So is that interesting?
Yeah, I think so. Just because there's now at least a little bit more of a competitive field. McLaren's really made some strides. I think, Carlos needing a new contract has been, it's a good season if you're trying to get into it and you don't want to watch Max win every week. When Max DNF'd a couple of races ago, everyone online blew up. It was midnight here. I stayed up for the rest of the race to watch it. Had he gotten ahead, I wouldn't have. But I do think that the constructors is still pretty open. I put some odds on Ferrari. I hope Sergio Perez chokes out the rest of the season. But it's an exciting time if you think that Max is like pretty dominant right now to actually get into it because that's going to change. And there are rumors that he's leaving Red Bull.
Ryan, watch F1 on Netflix. You get into it more and more. It's cool.
On Netflix?
Yeah.
Is it like
Drive
the
to
full
Survive.
swing type of
Yeah,
show?
same
It's
thing.
so interesting.
Okay.
Once you start, like when you start, you're like, Holy crap! I had no idea.
By the way, Amazon's putting out a similar thing with hockey players.
They're all doing it now.
this fall.
Netflix has the golf tour. Have you watched that one, Hardy?
Yeah, although after like 2 or 3 seasons of season 2, I kind of forgot about it. I got to get back to it.
Can I ask one final question?
Yeah.
Okay, we're late, but yes.
Forget it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Ask your question.
Who's the favorite in the West in the NHL? Is it Dallas?
You could look. You could look that up.
I would say.
I just like these guys know right away.
I mean, he could, but you know, he's got people right here.
I would say Dallas or Edmonton.
It's Colorado, actually.
Really?
Is the favorite. Just slight favorite over Edmonton right now.
Yeah, I would have guessed Edmonton, but
I found that interesting. Thank you. Sorry, Hardy.
No, don't apologize to me. Apologize to Dan. He's the one who.
Dan, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry.
Love you, Dan.
We're at Hawaii midnight time.
Now you've pissed
Apology accepted, Rochi.
Thank you.
You pissed
I
off
apologize too. What am I, chopped liver?
Sorry, Kenny. Yeah, but I don't think that you're late. Dan added to it, which made us late.
All right.
That's fine.
Kendra.
That's my bad. That's my bad.
People follow and listen to you where?
You can follow me on Twitter at Kenny with an I Middleton or everywhere else Kendra Middleton. Make sure you guys go check out the F1 Arcade.
Okay, very good. That's a little plug in there. I don't know if that's totally legal, but all right. And it's done.
It's like
now
WBZ.
You can't do anything about it.
TV.
Ryan, anything you want to plug?
I mean, I'm just
Hockey
going.
show 9 a.m. Saturday.
There you go. See, now that's within the bounds.
Get your day started.
That's fine.
It's only going to be 11 hours until face-off when we get on the air.
Way to work.
All right, Kendra, thank you.
Bye, guys.
All
I'll see you
right.
next week.
All
I won't
right.
see you next week, or you,
No.
but Hardy.
Yeah.
I'll see you next
Won't
weekend
see
for
me
Messi.
ever again with Hardy, so good to see you.
Bye, guys.
Bill Belichick was on with Pat McAfee yesterday.
It was great.
Oh, everybody! Oh, he's so good.
Yeah,
Throwing out with McAfee.
So
loved it.
good. Let's hear some of that next here on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub after the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox beat Cleveland last night 2-0. Tanner Houck, complete game, 3-hit shutout at 9 strikeouts, no walks. Needed just 94 pitches. The game took an hour and 49 minutes, which is the fastest 9-inning Red Sox game since 1999. Sox and Guardians again today wrap up the 4-game series with a 135 start. Garrett Whitlock placed on the 15-day injured list yesterday with the tightness in his oblique muscle. NHL has announced Game 1 of the Bruins Maple Leaf Series will be Saturday night at TD Garden, face-off a little after 8 p.m. NBA play-in last night. Sixers beat the Heat. Philly gets the 7 seed and the first-round matchup against the Knicks. Bulls eliminated Atlanta last night. Chicago plays Miami tomorrow night, with the winner advancing to take on the Celtics in round 1 starting Sunday afternoon. And the NBA banned Raptors forward Jonte Porter for life for violating the league's gambling rules. Headlines brought to you by Rapid Flow Sewer and Drain Cleaning. They're hiring and part of Local 12 to give you great retirement and healthcare benefits. To grow your career, visit rapidflowinc.com. With Rapid Flow, one call solves it all. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines at 8.
It's not just the games. It's the preseason, the postseason, the drafts, the trades, front office.
By FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Fred and Wallach both out this week. But Dan Roach is here, and so is Ryan Johnston. We are just basking in the warmth and good feelings of seeing Bill Belichick on with Pat McAfee yesterday.
That was cool.
And still the guy I am maybe most jealous of in life, A.J. Hawk, who I am not exaggerating. The next time I hear him speak will be the first. I only consume Pat McAfee and the clips that are shown online and the stuff that we play here. I've never seen or heard him participate in the show other than the extreme close-up on him in that 3-box that they do, or sometimes just a side-by-side. I don't know how you get a job like that. What a job.
It's pretty good.
Does he speak? Does anybody watch this show? Anybody? Has anybody ever heard him talk?
I believe he did I saw yesterday, because I have the same feeling about, a lot of people have the same feeling about Hawk. It's like a running gag, but he went on some rant last year about primates ripping your face off.
Oh,
all
right.
He was like, I don't mess with them.
Okay. You guys can keep a chimpanzee as a pet,
right?
Not me. I'm not doing it. All right, so Belichick went on McAfee yesterday. They announced that he is going to be part of the draft coverage that the Pat McAfee show is doing from the draft in Detroit next week. And people are just turning somersaults and kind of taking a victory lap saying, see, Bill's doing media, and he's great at it, and he's so funny and so personable. And once again, I'm saying you all are suffering from, what is it, Helsinki syndrome?
Is it Helsinki, Sweden?
As in Helsinki, Sweden. Stockholm syndrome. You're all just saying any bit of personality or humor shown by this guy is you lose your minds. You lose your minds when Bill
listen
Belichick
to these clips. It sounds like a completely different human being.
Does it sound? But does he yet sound like a human being?
Well, he's a lot closer.
He sounds like a different entity. Maybe a little bit, but it's something.
He's cracking jokes. He's,
Oh my God, the joke about his birthday and all the candles. Yeah, they had to call the fire department to put out the candles.
Listen, he's not Shecky Green, but what are you going to do? Like he's showing a little personality. It's not something we are used to.
It's a dad joke. It was a good dad joke.
Let's find out what's been going on as McAfee and Belichick get into their song and dance. It's like good jazz. Listen to these two go back and forth.
What is life like for you right now, and what has it been like for the first time in 49 years, not in an NFL building?
Yeah, well, sort of like what I've been doing, watching the players, specifically the ones that might be involved in our show. So the guys in the top part of the draft. But the first round leads into the second round, and there's a lot of correlation there. So we'll talk about that next Thursday night. But just trying to do some preparation and follow up. I watched a lot of these guys in the fall and even some from last year when they were juniors or when they weren't coming out, but they were still factors in evaluating the players in the 23 draft. So it's just kind of an ongoing process, and it's fun to keep up with. I always enjoy this part of the season.
Riveting. You know what? I changed my mind. That is good. I can't wait. I want more of that. More of that.
Well, there was some peripheral stuff, but I thought the interesting stuff was when he talked about how, ignore everything. It's all agent created before the draft, all the hype, all the rumors and everything else. And then as it gets closer, it's more real in the first, last 24 to 12 hours. Some situations, what teams are thinking, what they might be doing is they tend to get it out there a little bit more. I thought little things like that I thought were quite interesting.
All right. Well, how about Bill talking about trading with the Steelers in the first round last year?
The Pittsburgh trade. We only traded back a couple of spots. We were pretty confident that the Steelers were looking for a tackle, and we were pretty confident that the Jets weren't going to take a corner because they had taken Gardner the year before. And so we kind of thought that both teams were looking for the same thing. So in the end, the Jets ended up taking a pass rusher. But we were really interested in the corner. We probably would have stayed there and taken Gonzalez if there hadn't been a trade available. Well, we would have done that. That's not probably. We would have done that. But, the option to move back a couple spots. And, of course, we didn't know the Steelers were going to take the guy that the Jets wanted. I mean, I would say we weren't heartbroken that happened. But that's the way it goes. But, in the end, we ended up getting the guy that we wanted with Gonzalez.
Yeah, we showed them.
Screw the Jets.
But that's a nugget, though. He basically told you that they made that deal because they were confident that Gonzalez would be there, and they got a chance to screw the Jets.
There is this entire culture. I won't call it a subculture. It's a culture that I am not enamored with or a part of that just loves the draft, loves the chess game of the draft. And sure, I find it interesting.
I'm the same as you on that.
From a business dealing, but I don't get all tingly down there thinking about teams that are able to accurately predict what another team is doing, what's a smoke screen, trading out of this to end up getting that. If it doesn't result in getting a player that helps your team or maybe gets you to more than 4 wins on the season, ultimately, what do I care? If you nail the draft or if you nail the market on a player, did it result in more wins? Did it result in your team being more watchable? And again, I feel like, Dan, you and I might be in the minority on this because the draft is a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And talk to Fred. Fred used to talk, he would talk about the draft being one of his favorite things of all time.
That's because of who Fred roots for.
Because they're always picking
because
high.
It's all he has to look forward to,
when you are the fan of a team, like the off season is the big deal as opposed to the regular season because you don't win any games.
Well, yeah.
Maybe the first time in a long time we had that here this year. First time in forever. So that made it more so hard.
Of course I'm compelled about what the Patriots are going to do, but maybe I have been soured on it because the Lions picked so high for so many years and didn't have much to show for it. And I realize that it's folly. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter unless you put together a product on the field in the next year or two. And I saw it year after year after year with the Lions, and now it seems like they're turning it around. But okay, whatever. Does it get me all hot and bothered to think about who beyond like the 5th or 6th pick in this draft? Once the quarterbacks are gone and Harrison and maybe a couple other receivers, I'm not going to feign interest and tell you I'm really all that interested in what goes on.
But the TV broadcast is such compelling entertainment. Watching Roger Goodell wander out onto the stage every 15 minutes and hug a guy. It's like that. That's what bothers me about it is that it is now this 3-day long TV broadcast, and now they're doing McAfee's going to have his own separate broadcast with Belichick, and Nick Saban's going to be on the ESPN main feed and all of this stuff. It is,
and all the info comes out if
watching paint dry for 3 days.
If you've got your phone on next to you, as we all do as we're watching TV,
Rap Sheet's going to blow all the picks anyway.
Everything's ruined.
Yes,
everything's ruined while you're watching it. It becomes unwatchable.
It's also an inexact science, right? Still to this day. So you sit there and I listen for months and months and months of Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels, now J.J. McCarthy. You tell me, if any of these first 4 picks in this draft a sure thing?
No, of course not. And
that's what makes it so harder that I have people telling me what they like, what they don't like, what they see in the pro workout that this guy has, that guy, J.J. McCarthy does this, that. We don't know who of these 4 quarterbacks is going to be the next franchise quarterback.
Yeah, that's the underlying truth of it all too. But just beyond that, hearing Bill on with McAfee yesterday, the thing that really bugs me too is that he's willing to give someone like Pat McAfee the time of day and time and do 30 minutes with him, and he's going to do the show next week. Why? Number one, a lot of money. He's going to get paid a ton of money to do this. Number two, McAfee was a player. And what did you say, Ryan? He must love McAfee. Why?
Because he's a special teams guy.
Oh, my God. Oh.
They talked about that, changing the special teams rules, and Bill immediately goes off and says, I wish they would have done that when you were punting because, we didn't, we were always worried about you pulling off trick plays and stuff like that. Again.
Right.
It's like totally he treats McAfee like he's an actual human being.
Yeah, because he played, and he's going to give preferential treatment. Fine. That's Bill's personality. That's who he is. It doesn't make up for all the other people in and around the team that he treated so poorly for so many years just because he's nice to Pat McAfee. Of course he's nice to Pat McAfee. He played. And ESPN is paying him a ton of money to do this. Whatever. Enjoy Bill. It'll be great, I'm sure. I'm not going to watch that. Yesterday, we wanted to do a game with Dan Roach about one of his favorite things in the world. We didn't get a chance to because the Seth Wickersham story dropped. We're going to have Seth Wickersham on the show at 8:20, but we're going to get to Dan's game first. We'll do that just after 8 o'clock here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Toucher and Hardy.
Visit us. Sports Hub, Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox Tanner Houck, a complete game 3-hit shutout as the Sox beat Cleveland last night 2-0. Houck 9 strikeouts, no walks, 94 total pitches in that game, which only took an hour and 49 minutes. They will wrap up their 4-game set against Cleveland today, 1:35 start time over at Fenway Park. Garrett Whitlock yesterday placed on the 15-day injured list after leaving the game the night before with oblique tightness. Joe Jakes was recalled from Worcester. Rafael Devers was in the lineup last night. Turned out he did not need an MRI on the knee that he tweaked the night before. NHL has announced the Bruins and Maple Leafs will get their first-round playoff series started Saturday night, 8 p.m. at TD Garden for Game 1. Rest of the schedule probably out by tonight once the Western Conference teams wrap up play in the regular season. Sixers beat the Heat last night in an NBA play-in game. Philly gets the number 7 seed. Meanwhile, Miami, possibly without Jimmy Butler, who hurt his knee last night, will have an MRI today, is going to have to play Chicago for the 8th seed. Winner of that game is going to take on the Celtics in round 1 starting Sunday afternoon. And the NBA yesterday banned Toronto forward Jonte Porter for life for violation of the league gambling rules. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Prestige Car Wash, home of the free vacuum. Join their unlimited wash plan. Get free washes until the end of the month. Don't ride dirty. Check out prestigewash.com with 22 Greater Boston locations. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in 30 minutes.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown serves the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Score in the foul.
This is home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Now, more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Dan Roach just took a very strong Altoid. I can smell that from 8 feet away, dude.
My wife will let me in the car when I got back from Minnesota. She was like, "You smell like airport."
That is curiously strong.
Yeah, it's an Altoid.
Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Toucher and Wallach out. Dan Roach is here. So is Ryan Johnston. Dan Roach, lover of all things, but especially none more than Disney World. Disneyland do anything for you, Dan? Have you been to?
You know, my nephew's trying to convince me more and more that it's got a lot of good qualities now. But when I went there a couple of times, it's just you're driving through a neighborhood and all of a sudden you turn and you're at Disneyland. It's not the same as you come through the gate and there's the sign, "Welcome to the Magic Kingdom" and "Welcome to Walt Disney World."
Yeah.
It's just like right there.
Well, I told you for years the policy in our house was we weren't taking the kids to Disney World until they asked.
Yep.
And that changed to even if they ask, we're not taking them to Disney World.
Yeah, you're either a Disney person or you're not.
Well,
you know,
but
it's okay.
Here's the kicker. Finally, last spring, I think last spring, when my daughter was 16 and my son was 12, we went during this week last year on vacation. We were staying in Clearwater, just on the beach at a hotel. Let's get away. Let's go to the beach. And we'll take one day. We'll drive, over to Orlando, and we'll go to, all right, let's go to Universal. We've heard Universal is good. We've never been there. And it was great. We had the best time.
Awesome.
And I made a point of saying several times during that trip and afterward, wow, we should have done this a lot when you guys were little. This would have been great.
Oh, you're lying.
Just to rub in the fact that we didn't and how much fun we could have been having all these years. Now, I know that when they're
Is there
real
sarcasm in that, Ryan?
No, I do it just to torture my kids. Remember we went to Universal when you guys were like both teenagers? That was awesome. Too bad we didn't do that when you were little. You guys would have loved it.
Are both kids out of the house? Do they hate you? Because I would.
We made up for it. We
Sure.
made up for it with that one day at Universal.
Right.
So I would. Now that I know what a theme park is like, a major theme park in, 20,
No. You don't
2020s.
do it right. That's why.
What?
Because you need to do it right.
What's doing it right?
Is staying at a magical resort.
Yes.
And then just taking it easy and going to park, one park per day, or finding the rides you like, getting on them. You can golf hardy. I went on a great trip last March with my wife. She had a conference in Orlando at a hotel. And she goes, "Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, heck yeah." So first day I went and golfed at Disney, which was awesome. I had a good time. Huh? I said heck yeah.
Wow.
And then the next day, I went over and just kind of walked around downtown Disney and had myself a good time. And then we went over together after the conference and stayed at the Contemporary overlooking the fireworks. And you know what I did? She got so mad at me. I said to the woman at the desk, "Oh, it's our anniversary," and it wasn't. And next thing I know, I had 50th anniversary Magical Kingdom, this, all anniversary stuff, a big thing in our room and everything. It was great.
What is downtown Disney?
It's it's Disney Springs now, but it's a bunch of shops. It's a
like
bunch of
shops,
restaurants,
bars.
Yeah.
Like there's activities. It's not part of the theme parks, but it's like kind of a little city unto itself.
And when the Celtics played the Magic, and if I had an afternoon off or an evening off in between games, I'd go over and park over at the by the Dolphin and the Swan, and I'd go walk around the boardwalk and just soak in the atmosphere and everything else. Just have myself sit at have a nice restaurant and everything else, and just feel the things. It's just like a nice, calm feeling when I'm there.
Well, you know an awful lot about Disney.
No, I don't. Not as much as you think, though.
You really do.
Trivia.
You know more than
you guys always kill me on trivia. On this.
You know,
I'm not good.
You know more than most people on the planet, and we're going to test your knowledge right now, but with a special twist. Dan, if we may. We have a series of questions based on rides at Disney and certain incidents that have occurred on those rides. Now, it would be one thing, Dan. I'm so excited
How about
to do
the
this.
Detroit Tigers and Red Sox that played for both teams? I liked that the other day.
No, this is
Adam 12. It was good.
This is so much better, and you should appreciate it more than anyone, because instead of just me asking the questions, we gotten in touch with and got him to do the current voiceover artist for Disney features. Obviously, it's not the original Mickey Mouse. It's not the original Donald Duck. It's not the original. Yeah, okay, it's none of these guys.
Sure.
But somebody has to, take the mantle and continue the tradition. So we had that person in character voice read these questions for you. So this was a labor. It was an effort, but we knew you were going to be on. We wanted to do this. So first, asking this trivia question of you, Dan Roach, the voice of Mickey Mouse.
Hi, Dan, it's Mickey Mouse. Let's blast off into the cosmic adventures of this Disney World classic. Unfortunately, in 2015, a 55-year-old guest lost consciousness during the ride's stellar twists and turns. Which ride launched this unfortunate incident?
It's like watching a current day Disney feature.
So good.
Isn't that wonderful? What guest lost consciousness? Was it on Space Mountain, It's a Small World, or the Haunted Mansion?
I mean, the easy one is Space Mountain, right? Because the other two, if you do that, you have issues, like major issues, if you lose consciousness on Small World or the Haunted Mansion.
Your answer?
Space Mountain.
Correct. Well done.
I hate that ride, too, by the way.
What, Space Mountain?
Yeah, I took my daughter on it when she was young, and she was like, I had to hold on to her tight. It was just dark and everything. I don't like those kind of rides.
All right.
Prefer the Dumbo ride?
Yeah, Splash Mountain.
It's just so weird hearing the actual Mickey Mouse.
That was good, though. Was that you, Hardy?
It's the guy who does the voices.
I'm really
Look,
impressed.
Maybe you can't tell from that one. It's obvious we got the guy who does Goofy when you hear Goofy asking this next question.
Hi there, Dan. It's Goofy. This aquatic ride at Disneyland is known for its enchanted adventures. However, in 2014, a guest decided to dip his fingers in the water during the ride. When the boat took a dip for itself, the ride sliced off his fingers. Which ride faced this incident?
The voice of Goofy. This has got to be a special moment for you.
I hear Goofy loves the email bit that we do in 9 o'clock hour.
That's pretty good, Hardy.
Which ride did someone lose their fingers on? What? Hold on,
Now there's a hint in there because there's water involved.
Yeah, and Enchanted got me piqued my interest.
Yeah. Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, or Splash Mountain?
When I heard the word enchanted, though, gosh, I don't know if it's because those boats tip over. Boy, I'm either Jungle Cruise or Splash, but nothing bad happens on Splash. I'll go with Jungle Cruise.
The ride sliced off the guest's fingers.
Yeah, there's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, was it really? That's a harmless ride.
The ride sliced off the guest's fingers.
Goofy sounds a lot like Marty Moose. I wonder if it's the same voiceover guy.
These guys make a lot of money doing a lot of different things. All right, final one here, Dan. Don't worry, it's almost over.
I like this. No, I can do this all day.
Well, you could listen to the voice of Donald Duck in 2024. Again, of course, not the original Donald Duck, but it's a very distinctive voice. So it's obviously this guy can do Donald Duck better than anyone else in the world. Otherwise, he wouldn't get the gig.
Hi, this is Donald Duck. This well-known water ride is a mountain of splashing good fun. However, a wave of tragedy hit Disney World in 2000 when a visitor lost his life after disembarking the boat while the ride was still in motion. On what ride at Disney World did this unfortunate incident occur? Quack, quack.
So bad. What? It's Donald Duck. You don't like Disney? That's the voice of Donald. Dan, did that happen on Expedition Everest, It's a Small World, or Splash Mountain?
Got to be Splash.
Wow. You know what? For someone who says they're not any good at trivia, I have to say. You are correct. Splash Mountain is the correct answer.
Hi, this is Donald Duck. Hi, it's Donald Duck.
I have a confession to make. That wasn't the actual voiceover artist who does Mickey Mouse, Goofy. No.
Did you see that they're trying
So
to
did you get
unionize?
Rick Dees to do the duck? Is that who that was? Because he had that hit back
Hi,
in the...
this is Donald Duck.
Believe it or not, that is our own Nick Gemelli.
What?
Who is
Wow,
a
Nick,
talented
congrats.
voiceover artist.
Nicely done.
The recording sessions were not without...
Quack, quack. Disembarking the boat.
So, well done on the game, first of all, Dan.
That was fun.
And well done, Nick. You
Nick, that was great.
you had everybody fooled.
Mel Blanc couldn't have done it better.
You know, exactly. Congratulations to everybody. Seth Wickersham, he was one of the co-authors of the piece about Bill Belichick yesterday and what happened in Atlanta and what happened with Arthur Blank and everything else. He will join us next here on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
If you're
Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Here on 98.5 The Sports Hub with Fred Toucher out and John Wallach out. Today you've got me, Hardy, Dan Roach, John Wallach. And now you have to talk to Seth Wickersham, because now you have Seth Wickersham, who dropped a story yesterday along with Don Van Natta Jr. and Jeremy Fowler, which is entitled Voted Off the Island, Inside Bill Belichick's Failed Job Hunt. Seth Wickersham, senior writer for ESPN, New York Times bestselling author, joining us now on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Seth, good to talk to you again. How are you?
Gentlemen, how's everyone doing?
We're doing great. I just want to start us off. I think most of us got a chance to read it, but for those who have not, the first thing that jumps out when you're reading this is that when the job interviews and search was going on in Atlanta, the people in Atlanta were asked to make a list of their top 3 candidates, and Bill Belichick did not make anyone's top 3. So as a way to maybe encapsulate what the rest of the story is about, how did that happen? How did Belichick not make anyone in the Falcons organization? Well, he was not one of their top choices when all was said and done.
It's amazing, isn't it? I think that, like, every time I think I'm done with writing about Belichick and Kraft and everything, there's always something new that happens. And what transpired in January is baffling to think of. How does this guy with 8 Super Bowl rings get shut out? How did he only get 1 interview? And so we, decided to look into it and pursued it as best we can. And that was one of the more fascinating revelations. And that's that, we all remember on January 25th, Belichick had a meeting with Arthur Blank. It lasted 4.5 hours. It was a good meeting. It was Belichick's first interview to be a head coach, his official interview since 1998, which is kind of crazy. I mean, that's got to be some sort of record for time between official job interviews. And Blank brought him back for a second interview. That interview didn't go as well. The Falcons told us, people that were involved in the meeting told us that, it was done out of respect for Bill, and which tells you that he wasn't really being considered for the job at that point. And when they took a poll, he didn't finish in anyone's top 3, anyone's. And we wanted to try to find out what happened between that first meeting where he appeared to be the front runner and the second meeting where they met with him largely out of respect, not out of serious consideration.
Seth, obviously one of the biggest headlines around here that comes out of that story yesterday is this idea that Robert Kraft told Arthur Blank that you can't trust Bill, and basically, helped to submarine his chances of getting a job down there. If indeed that happened, as the sources lay out, you've covered the inside workings of this Patriots organization for a long time, very famously. Would that surprise you, and would that seem to be out of character for Robert Kraft?
No, I mean, as a matter of fact, we've been in contact with the Patriots about that specific piece of reporting, and Stacey James himself said it wouldn't surprise him to know that owners sometimes lament to those who are close to them. It's been no secret, and I don't think it's a secret to any of your listeners, that the relationship between Belichick and Robert Kraft, has not been warm and fuzzy for a long time. And it doesn't mean it was dysfunctional. It just means that, those were 2 people who had a phenomenally good working relationship, that it became strained. And I think that I had this anecdote in my book. Owners have known this for a long time. I mean, I had this anecdote in my book, and I believe it's from 2008. So it was right after Spygate and the 18-1 season. Kraft was at an owners meeting, and an executive turns to him and he says, what's it going to take for you to fire that a-hole, referring to Belichick? And Kraft replied, 8-8. And that was back then. And, since then, obviously they've had a ton of success. They've had some falling outs in terms of relationships. We all saw the things that Kraft looked into the camera and said on the dynasty. And so Arthur Blank is one of Kraft's best friends. And we reported, and multiple sources have said that Kraft warned blank about Belichick's trustworthiness. Kraft, through the Patriots, pushed back on that and denied that he did that. But I think that, to me, it was more just reflective of the state of their relationship and the state of where things are with them, rather than maybe a pivotal thing that mattered. Each owner is a boss in their own right. They don't like to be told what to do. But again, how is it that a guy with 8 Super Bowl rings gets shut out this hiring cycle? And I think that all these little things contributed to it.
That's my one question, Seth. Do you think Bill will work again as a head coach in the NFL?
Man, I wish I had a great answer for that. I don't know. Belichick himself has told confidants he thinks he'll get at least one interview next year, which is, again, it's just kind of, it warps your mind to think about, how is that the case? How is that the expectation that, the greatest head coach in the history of the game, at least in modern times, might get one job interview? I think that there's a chance that he gets shut out again. I also think there's a chance that he serves as an accelerator, and that teams fire their head coaches in December to get first dibs at him, so that there's not a bidding war for him. But it was a poor reflection of owners, I think, and the state of the Patriot way and the perception of Belichick as an operator of football decisions, that he got shut out, and that he essentially got a cursory look.
How much does the age enter into it, though?
Yeah.
Because when you hire a head coach, obviously you're not hoping that you're going to have to hire another head coach in 2 or 3 years. When you hire a guy who's already into his 70s, you have to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think it matters. I think that if he had been 62 rather than 71 at the time when he interviewed with the Falcons, I think that would have made a difference. I think that when you look at, we have some reporting from the Eagles, that the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman have known Bill Belichick for a long time. He's someone that they have a huge amount of respect for. The Eagles obviously didn't finish the season the way they wanted to. And I think that even though they were behind Nick Sirianni, they felt like they had to at least discuss the idea of what this guy's available, what could he possibly bring to the team? And I think that one of the things was that, when you hire Bill, even though he's approaching these interviews saying hey, look, I don't need total control of football operations. I just want to coach. I'm willing to work with existing staff. I think they feel like that even though he's saying that, when you hire someone like Bill and his presence, you have to turn the keys over to him. And there's a perception out there that he's only going to coach until he passes Don Shula. I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's the perception. And I think the teams are hey, look, do we blow up the building, do things as he wants done for 2 years, and then what? We're looking for another coach. I think the Eagles at least felt like he doesn't have the greatest track record of developing coaches who, are able to be successful on their own running teams. And so there's no question that I think age was a factor.
Seth Wickersham is with us here. The story dropped yesterday about Bill Belichick not getting the job in Atlanta, not getting much else. There's a graph in the story, Seth, where you wrote, asked whether Kraft had any motivations to keep Belichick off the sideline. A source close to the coach said, quote, if Bill goes on to have success and Tom already had success, then who does Kraft have to blame? How likely do you think it is? Because again, this is a source close to Bill telling you
Bill,
this.
yes.
Right. How likely do you think that's an actual thing? That was part of the calculus and is an ongoing part of the thought process of Robert Kraft saying I can't have him out there coaching and winning, because if he does, I'm going to look like the one who ruined this thing.
I don't think, I think it's indicative of how bad things are now. That's what I think it is. I think that Kraft, there was a source in the story who, was very close to Kraft and is very close to Kraft, and essentially says they're not doing anything to help Bill, but they weren't going to hurt him either. I think that's a little bit more accurate. Like, I think that, like, if Belichick had ended up with a job this hiring cycle, I don't think that Kraft would be moved either way by it. I think that, like, that quote, from someone who's incredibly well versed in the Patriot way, I think that it's indicative of just how toxic things are and how bad things got at the end. And I reported it in January, right after Belichick and the Patriots went separate ways, and we kind of repeated it in this story. But I think that most people thought that Bill was done this past season after they lost the game. I think it was in Germany to the Colts. They had a horrifically poor offensive performance, and he benched Mac Jones for the just for a 2-minute drill. And I think that, like, that the Krafts had made up their mind, and that might have been true. I don't know. I know that the Krafts, when you lose a game or you get on a losing streak, there's no question that they can utter things that, out of emotion sometimes. But I think that Belichick wanted to keep coaching in New England and believed that he had a chance to fix things there until, like, mid-December, when I think he finally realized that, his time there was going to come to an end. And so, that quote, and whether Kraft wants him to coach again, and how blunt he was in conversations, the 2 conversations that he had with Arthur Blank during the interview cycle, the conversation that he had with Josh Harris down in Washington. I think no matter what, people know that this is reflective of just how poor the terms are with these 2 men who accomplished, unbelievable things together.
How much is this common sense from the human nature of a relationship where you mentioned for 20 years they were at the top, and then for the last 4 years it's just kind of not gone that way. When it comes to the word trust, how do you look at that word when it comes to Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft? Because let's face it, he trusted Bill to do what's best for the franchise for so many years because it went so well. And when it's not going well, and when we saw in Germany that game where it's just really tough to watch, how much do you think that of it is Robert saying, hey, someone calling him as a fellow owner saying, what do you think? Yeah. Well, based on the last 4 years, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can give the keys to the franchise to this guy, because I don't know what will happen to you guys.
Yeah, and trust is a durable word in that regard, right? It has, in addition to, like, interactions and whether they believe that, the interactions they're having are trustworthy. It's like, does this guy still have his fastball? And Kraft is a respected owner around the NFL. I mean, all the owners they're all kind of frenemies, and, some of them are close with others, and, but Robert Kraft is a respected owner, and he's done a lot for the league. And even though he's appeared to his colleagues as pious at times and arrogant, I think that people respect him. And, when he moves on from a coach who's, impacted his life and legacy that much, I think that has an impact. And so even when he, talks to Arthur Blank and, gives him his scouting report and his referral of the type of coach Bill Belichick is at age 71, 72. We saw what happened in the NFL this year. I mean, we detail a lot with the Falcons in his interview with them, because that's the only one that happened. It's just astounding that some of these other teams, Washington, didn't even really look at him as an option. And, that to me is reflective of ownership and the way that things are trending in the league, as much as it is about Bill Belichick.
Final question for you, Seth. You read at the end of this story that about Bill's book on leadership and whether or not he give away any secrets. A confidant said, well, Belichick is going to write a lot but not disclose much. The book will be theories and tenets, guardrails and bullet points. So I ask you, Seth Wickersham, as a New York Times bestselling author, does that sound like a good book? Something that has a lot of words but doesn't say much and is mostly bullet points?
I mean, I think, look, I would love for a tell-all memoir just like everybody else, but any window into his brain is fascinating. And, he's a unique character, both in the culture and in football circles, and like anything will be fascinating. But like, I think we've seen it. What I was getting at with that point is we've seen what happens when his charges go off and try to run a version of his system elsewhere. It doesn't work. It's because like there's no book that can tell you with 30 seconds left in the Super Bowl and the Seattle Seahawks at the 1 yard line to not call timeout because he sees dysfunction on the other side, and then to send in a undrafted cornerback who had just gotten beat on a big play and make sure he knows how to make the pivotal play of the game at that point. There's nothing that can replicate that. And it was more of a statement of this guy's singular genius than it was, whatever he may or may not say in a book. But like, no matter what he says, it's going to be interesting. And I think people are going to want to read it. You saw what he said on Pat McAfee's show yesterday. He's going to help ESPN do some draft commentary. And, a lot of what he said was kind of boilerplate. Like, it wasn't like super fascinating, but just coming from his mouth and the glimpses of the staggering knowledge and depth and work and ethic that he's put into like accumulating this database of, football acumen is just fascinating. And I think that like, if that comes through in a book, I think people are going to want to read it.
Okay. All right. Hey, Seth, thanks so much for the time. More good reading from Seth Wickersham, along with Don Van Natta Jr. and Jeremy Fowler. It was published yesterday on ESPN, but you can read it right now. Seth, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Hey, have a great day, you guys.
All right. Thank you very much. There he goes. All right. We have Tom Caron joining us at 9 o'clock this morning. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do that.
I'm also curious to hear Elliot Wolf today. That'll be interesting.
All right, we got.
I know you don't like draft talk, but I do.
No, I mean
this situation.
For this and for the Patriots picking 3 and what's going to happen. Absolutely, yes. There are inherent compelling points to it. It's just
7 days from today, the franchise changes forever.
There you go. What Ryan Johnston just said. Ryan, do me a favor. Say it again in the headlines, but make it somehow newsworthy.
Why watch the Patriots
so you can incorporate it? Yeah, something.
Go.
Well, we got to get the thing first. Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sports Hub headlines.
7 days from now, the Patriots franchise will change forever with the NFL draft. Tanner Houck last night, complete game, 3-hit shutout. Red Sox beat Cleveland 2-0. Can I get a woo on that, Danny? Come on. 9 strikeouts, no walks, 94 pitches for a complete game. It took only an hour and 49 minutes. Fastest Sox game in 9 innings since 1999. Sox and Cleveland wrap up their 4-game series, 1:35 this afternoon. Garrett Whitlock placed on the 15-day injured list yesterday with oblique tightness. Good news, Rafael Devers did play last night as a DH. The day after hurting his knee, did not need an MRI. NHL says Bruins and Maple Leaf series starts Saturday night at TD Garden. Face off a little after 8 p.m. Rest of the schedule still to come. The Celtics tomorrow night will find out who they're playing in the first round starting on Sunday. They know now it will be either Miami or Chicago. Miami lost to the Sixers in a play-in game last night, so Philly gets the 7 seed. They'll play the Knicks in the first round. Meanwhile, the Bulls eliminated Atlanta last night. Jimmy Butler, by the way, may not be able to play in that play-in game tomorrow night. He hurt his knee last night. The team is fearing it's an MCL injury. We'll get more info on that today. Raptors forward Jonte Porter banned for life by the NBA yesterday for violating the league's gambling rules. He was betting on his own games. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Dr. Matthew Lopresti and Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, the hair doctor of Hardy and Brian Scalabrine at 1-800-GET-HAIR. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines, 9 o'clock.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app, the 98.5 The Sports Hub app.
We continue here on the 98.5 The Sports Hub. The big story today, no question about it this morning. Tanner Houck with a gem at Fenway Park. And with that, we bring in NESN's own Tom Caron, one of the most respected reporters I've ever been around for what he does day in and day out, his versatility, his attitude, smile always on his face, good family man. Nothing you can say bad about Tom Caron as he joins us here on the, what hotline are we on here today?
The Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline.
Hey, TC, how you doing? Good morning.
Hi, Dan.
Go ahead, Hardy. You go.
In 14 minutes.
You're 14 minutes early.
He's joining us at 9 o'clock.
Oh, sorry.
Top of the hour. I don't know if Dan knows what top of the hour means, but I said, hey, TC's going to be on at the top of the hour.
Let's just practice it.
Oh.
All I said was...
Did you get that on tape? Can we play that back at 9 o'clock when we introduce TC?
And I will be eating at that. All I said to Dan was I didn't even get one bite of my breakfast. And Dan's like, I got it.
I pulled the wallet on you.
I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna do it. And he set up a segment that we're not doing for another quarter of an hour. I did not get a chance to do much yesterday after I left here. I went home, and Fred told me this last week when I had a busy day planned after the show. He's like, oh, no. You can only do one thing a day after this show. And I'm like, come on, my days are going to be busy and all that. I had all these plans when I first started doing it. He's like, you can do one thing. You pick that one thing. And if it's golf, that's a lot, to go do after you wake up and do this show. But you can run one major errand. You can do one project at home. You can do one thing. And after that, you're going to be sorry. No.
Okay.
No. He's not ready for that.
Wow.
And apparently a lot of people aren't ready for that.
No, but so I went and did that, and I'm like, it's fine. It's not taxing. It's whatever you do as a parent. You do things. But then after that, I went home, grabbed a little nap, and then I went on the odyssey that was being the guest lecturer at Gary Tanguay's class at Emerson University. Downtown, 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. And this is the type of thing Fred Toucher warned me about. Don't do it. You're going to have to learn to say no.
Hey, so.
Yeah, you're Mr. People Pleaser. You want to do this. You want to do that.
How'd you like to come downtown, 4 p.m., hey?
And I said, sure, of course, a couple of months ago. And then the day arrived. Like, oh, man. Now we go through the hoops of, like, how does one get oneself downtown at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday when one has already been up since 4 a.m. and done multiple things with your day? Now you got to go do this. So first thing that happened, I'm like, Gary, where am I going? What am I doing? We have had zero conversation about this at all. I'm like, here's the address, 4 o'clock. Do I get there at 4? How do I get in the building? I'd never been to Emerson. I've never even been inside other than like at BU, one of these urban campuses. I went to Michigan State, which is a, borderline rural campus. Yeah, it's a moo-you. You got acres and acres of defined campus. You know where to go. What happens when I get there? All right, I'll meet you. Do I need to prepare anything? Am I just showing up? I'm thinking.
Why would you prepare anything? I don't.
If
class planner?
If I have to get there and I'm thinking I'm going to be talking for 20 minutes or so, right? And it seems like a reasonable amount of time to ask for a favor, for someone to come in and be the guest speaker in a class, then I should have something prepared. Anything you want, Artie. I love the Fruppets. Do the Fruppets thing.
The Fruppets.
He kept calling them the Fruppets.
Yeah.
I love them. How do I look at them?
Yeah.
So I sent him.
Can you come and do a puppet show in my class?
I think he would have loved that. But this is like a sports radio, sports media class, and the kids in there are doing all kinds of different things already. They're already.
Oh, I know.
They've got their own podcasts. They've got their own YouTube channels. There is a guy in there who's already doing man on the street stuff at Bruins games and turning them around and turning them into bits. They're already doing stuff.
Wow.
Right? So talk about the Fruppets. I'm like, okay, well, here's a link to the Fuppets page on the Sports Hub website. Do you want Yes, you're coming in to be the creative guy. We've already had someone to come in and talk about sports in general. Wallach came in and do play-by-play. I'm like the fourth or fifth guest lecturer already, right?
A lot of pressure.
He's already had people. So, all right. I have examples of creative audio production I've done over the years. How do you want to play them? Email them to me. All right, what's your email? He sent me an email address. It was a dead link. It did not work. So I'm on I took the train in, which was the smartest thing I've ever done. I took the commuter rail out of Canton into Back Bay, and it's like a 10, 15-minute walk from there. I'm like, okay, at least that part is set. But while I'm on the train, I'm like, Gary, that email doesn't work. I need a new email. Here. So I show up. Dan, you would have loved it. It's a 4 o'clock class. I'm waiting outside. He said, I'll get you a few minutes before 4. I'm like, okay. I am there at 3:51 p.m. Way too early. I'm wasting time. But I text Gary when I get there. I'm here. Nothing. There's kids walking in, obviously, for like 4 o'clock lectures and classes and labs, whatever they do at Emerson. And it's completely foreign to me. It's like this tiny little alcove and 3 elevators. I'm like, I guess this is what college is when you go to Emerson. Nothing. No Gary. No text. No nothing. 3:59 and 59 seconds. He walks through the lobby door. Hey, Hardy, let's go. Got to get you signed in at security, though. I'm like, okay, all right. I guess I didn't want to be the last one here. Oh, Tangway's always the last one to show up for a Tangway class. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
So we went upstairs, started the thing. He introduces me. It's like kind of in a newsroom. There's 15 kids sitting around. And he introduces me and says, Hardy, take it away. I'm like, all right. Within 5 minutes, one kid is asleep.
Yeah, they look at you like they don't care.
And I have what I think is a pretty interesting way I got into the business. There was one kid in particular who could not care less, who actually later on did engage a little bit, whatever. He had a big night the night before.
Well, you reached him.
I started
didn't care at the beginning.
I started talking. We started doing questions, and after a while, dummy me, I never asked, when does this class end? What time do you think I left Emerson yesterday after getting there at 3:51 p.m.?
5:30?
5:51 p.m.
Oh,
which was barely enough time to make it back to Back Bay for my 6:05 train back to Canton Junction. I thought I might be taking the 4:57 out of Back Bay.
Yeah.
4:57, we were only at the halfway mark of my obligation to the class
what the
yesterday.
Heck did you talk about?
You know what? We talked about ideas for this show. And as we got toward the end, or what should have been long past the end of my obligation there, I said, we got a few empty spots on the show sheet for tomorrow, so I got to go, guys. Got to well, let's hash it out here. Let's give Hardy some ideas for the show tomorrow.
Wow, nice. Tangway producing.
So we got a few ideas. We will get to them in the stack because I think they were good ideas, and we might actually incorporate one into the show tomorrow. But ideas given to me by Tangway's group of eager young minds that attend his class there at Emerson. Thank you, Gary, for having me. Thank you to all the students
Was it fun?
who had me yesterday. Sure. I mean, all the kids are like, I call them kids. All the students there are very sharp. They have a pretty good idea of what they want to do and how they're going to do it, and in some cases are already doing it. What am I going to tell them?
Right.
I don't know. I literally started this business before the internet existed. So I don't know. It's different. It's different now. I'm learning like they are. All right. Tom Caron joining us at 9 o'clock. Dan already did the introduction, so we can just say that's happening next here on Toucher and Hardy, which is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Dan.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines.
Tanner Houck, complete game, 3-hit shutout. Red Sox beat Cleveland last night 2-0. Houck struck out 9, no walks, 94 pitches for a complete game that took only an hour and 49 minutes. Sox and Guardians again today wrap up a 4-game series with a 1:35 start time. Garrett Whitlock placed on the 15-day injured list with tightness in his oblique. Joe Jakes recalled from Worcester. Rafael Devers was able to play last night as DH. Despite hurting his knee the night before, did not need an MRI. NHL says Bruins Maple Leaf series starts Saturday night at TD Garden. Face-off will be a little after 8 p.m. Of course, you'll hear it right here on 98.5, the Sports Hub. In the NBA last night, play-in series, or play-in games, I should say. Sixers edge the Heat. Philly gets the 7 seed. They'll take on the Knicks in the first round. The Bulls eliminating Atlanta, so it's Chicago against Miami tomorrow night. Winner of that game will take on the Celtics in round 1. Miami's Jimmy Butler hurt his knee, may not be able to play in that game. He's going to have an MRI today. And the NBA yesterday banned Raptors forward Jonte Porter for life for violating the league's gambling rules. Headlines are driven by the Albrecht Auto Group. Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respect at Albrecht with 7 locations, thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles. Get the right vehicle at the right price now at albrechtauto.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
Like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5 The Sports Hub. In the office, in your car, in your footy pajamas, this is how Boston sports fans start their day.
I bet you're just jealous.
Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
And a ground ball to the middle. Hamilton up and over. And what a performance tonight by Tanner Houck. A complete game. The first by a Red Sox pitcher since May 28, 2022. Red Sox win it 2-0. Tanner Houck with the best night of his major league career. Absolutely sensational.
One of the best nights of Dan Roach's life. Thank you, Dave O'Brien and Nesson. Speaking of Nesson, Tom Caron, host for Red Sox studio coverage, among many other things, on Nesson, and he is joining us now on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Tom, it's Hardy here, along with Dan Roach and Ryan Johnston. Thanks for being on with us this morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Well, TC, how we doing?
Good, Roachy. How are you?
Great, thank you very much. After last night, how could you not be?
This is going to end up being the happiest conversation that's ever been heard on this station.
This will be the most positive segment on this show in particular, maybe ever.
TC, don't listen to those guys.
It's the best night of sleep any of us have had after a Red Sox game in 25 years, right? So we're all actually in bed by 11. It was beautiful.
I mean, the first things first, watching a baseball game played in that amount of time is kind of awesome. And I know you can't expect that or even wish for it all that often, but you don't feel cheated in any way by a game that only takes 2 hours. In fact, it's pretty great. And, for your purposes, Tom, you're going to love it.
Well, for my purposes, it's unbelievable. I was in the car at 10 o'clock. It's never happened before. I've been doing this 25 years. But I will say one thing. I mean, if you had trouble finding parking and had to go park over at the Prudential and walk, I mean, you got there in the 5th inning. I'm not sure those people were thrilled. But.
Yeah, all the beer drinkers were disappointed 7th inning, right?
Shut off beer at like 8 o'clock. What are you doing?
Well, that was the 2 takeaways. I was wondering if they were still selling beer in the postgame show. Just why shut it off? And then I feel bad that Nesson might lay off the guy who edits Sox in 2, because it didn't even go to.
How did he extend it by 10 minutes last night?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I thought they were going to keep me around to tell some jokes for 11 minutes or something just to fill out the 2 hours.
That's awesome. Here's Tanner Houck sitting in the dugout in between innings, right? Things like that. So extend.
Show him during the commercial break for a minute, 2.5 minutes. Perfect.
TC, how much of what we saw last night with Houck plays into what Andrew Bailey maybe has been preaching as the pitching coach with, I think, 39% slider, 22% sinker, 34% splitter in what these guys are trying to accomplish?
Oh, last night was the masterclass in what Bailey and Craig Breslow and Justin Willard, who's the director of pitching, what they're all trying to do. I said to Tanner the other day, he came on he joined us in the postgame show live on Sunday, And I said, out of all the guys in the rotation, and really on the staff, even the relievers, what they're trying to do is the easiest, the best student you could ask for is Tanner Houck, because he was kind of already doing that, you know. This isn't asking Nick Pivetta, who's got a good fastball, to start spinning it more. I mean, this is what Houck does, right? The slider was always nasty. The east-west horizontal movement on his pitches is really tough for a hitter to square up. And so it's really just harnessing what he was already good at and sort of giving him a better game plan to use it. And you saw it last night. It's obviously not going to happen every time. But he's the perfect candidate to take Bailey's concepts and put them into work, and you saw it last night.
How much is a game like this and a performance like this able to carry over into the next game, into the next series? I mean, this is a team that could use something to build upon. Can you do it on a performance like that, or is it too much of an anomaly?
It's, you know, the hard thing, and you know, Rochi, you love baseball, and it's just, you know, I came from hockey, right? I did hockey for a long time before I went full-time Red Sox 25 years ago. And you used to always wonder about, you know, momentum. You know, the goalie's hot, you know, so you put him back in there tomorrow. Well, Tanner Houck ain't playing today. There's nothing that momentum does. Now, I do think the tangible evidence is it was a bullpen that had been really leaned on heavily, which you hate saying in April. But they were wiped out and taxed and needed a breather, and he gave the entire bullpen a night off. That's real. You know, that does carry over into today. And, you know, it does clear the air a little bit after a really ugly couple of losses. I think it does make the clubhouse feel better. Alex Core's really good at getting these guys to reset their mind. And, you know, yesterday was one of those things you never see as a fan, but you know, if you're around the team every day, like it was an ugly loss Tuesday night, right? And instead of early work and getting it, he actually had all the guys coming a little later yesterday. No BP yesterday. You know, it kind of the opposite of it. Almost take the foot off the throttle for a day and just say, hey, everybody sleep in, go have a big lunch, relax, we'll see you at the ballpark. You know, and you come back and you win a game. And that stuff does, I don't know about momentum, but I think that stuff does, you know, help you move past some ugliness. And I think so. I think that part of it carries over today. Now Bernardino's starting as an opener. Cooper Criswell, you're going to patch it together today. But if you get through today and can split this series, you hit the road. I mean, then all of a sudden, yeah, at least are breathing normal again after a couple of ugly games in this homestand.
And that leads me to my next question, TC. Red Sox, you know, Justin Long works in the PR, Sox Notes. The Sox lead the majors with a 1.85 starting pitcher ERA, lowest ERA starters through 19 games in the live ball era, etc. How much with what happened with Giolito early on and now with Nick Pivetta, can this group sustain what they've been doing so far?
Yeah, it's the most important question around this team right now. I mean, now Whitlock's on the IL too.
Yep.
And then you don't think that's going to last a long time. I mean, they jumped in. It's an oblique. They want to nip that in the bud. He's 15 days. I'm told they think he'll be back after 2 weeks. But, you know, how deep can you go on a, you know, they didn't add a lot, right? They added Giolito, and he's not going to throw a pitch this year. They got rid of Chris Sale, who would work pretty well in this group right now. And so, I don't know. You know, Richard Fitz is a guy to keep an eye on. He had a great outing last night for the Woo Sox. Went 6 innings, gave up 1 run. He's one of the guys they got in the Verdugo deal from the Yankees. Throws 97, so you know he's in AAA. That means you're a heartbeat away from getting a shot. He might be next. Criswell was pretty good. You know he's not going to blow you away, but he's a guy who does benefit from the Bailey and Willard concepts of you know throw sliders, spin it. He'll induce weak contact. The problem is and has been that you know 4 of the 5 starters right now are ground ball pitchers, and the defense has been atrocious. So, you know, if you're going to have a guy go out there and try to get ground balls, you got to make the plays behind you. The simplest stat I'm going to give you today, or anybody who wants to talk baseball, they played 9 games on this homestand. 3 of them, they didn't make an error. They're 3-0. 6 of them, they made an error. They're 0-6. You know, you play good defense, and you're going to get a better chance of winning the game.
You know, it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, Tom, because I heard Maz talking about this last night, too. Defensively, he said it's important to remember because the first thing you want to do is like, oh, the manager. You know, you got to look at the manager. You know, you got to be able to manage this club better. He said no one is coaching these guys to drop fly balls hit right to them. Nobody is coaching them to allow the ball between their legs when they're playing shortstop. I mean, these are things that have actually happened during this homestand on multiple occasions. So, for Alex Cora, you mentioned some of the things he did yesterday, kind of switching things around a little bit. What does Cora or any manager do when just fundamentally things are going wrong? It's not a question of coaching or managing, because since birth, these guys know this is not the way the game is supposed to be played. What do you expect them to do? Is it more of kind of like what you already mentioned, maybe turning things on its ear a little bit, no BP on a day when it seems like you should be having it, or changing things around? Because this stuff seems like it would be even more difficult to fix, the things that shouldn't even have to be addressed at this level.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a developmental league, right? You're supposed to get your development done in the minors. You know, I mean, I've been covering baseball for more than a quarter century. I've never seen a drill where you practice touching the bag as you turn a double play, not stepping over the bag. All right, I've never seen that happen. And you know, we almost had another one, but we did have another one last night where he stepped over the bag running up to first. He would have been safe, but he didn't touch the bag. You can't teach that at the major league level. But what you can do is maybe get the guys to press a little bit less, you know, to relax a little bit, like we said. And it goes both ways, right? Yesterday was a day where he sort of let them breathe a little bit. This past Sunday, you know, before a 1:30 game, he had the infield out there early in the morning taking infield practice, which they don't do every day, right? So it's sometimes it's throttled down, sometimes it's throttled back, and you keep having conversations. Yesterday, Cora had such a great answer when we talked about coaching at the major league level, right? Managers, and Roche will tell you, right? In his prime, Terry Francona might have punched you in the face if you called him coach. You know, managers hate being called coach because they're not coaches. They're supposed to manage this team to win, not coach them to be better. And we asked Cora about that yesterday, and he had a really good answer about, you know, this age we live in baseball, these high school kids are going to showcases every weekend, right, around the country. The top players go to showcases. And the showcase world is all about how fast did you throw? How hard did you hit the ball? How far did it travel off the bat? Nothing about winning games. They don't play games, right? They take part in showcases. And Cora's like, you know, the scoreboard doesn't mean anything to these young players. The scoreboard they care about is the miles per hour that their fastball is showing. And so you get guys here who have all the skill in the world, right? These guys can play baseball probably at a level that no one ever has. Jim Rice will hate hearing me say that, but that's the truth of it. These guys are better and stronger than any generation of baseball players ever. But they don't have a very high baseball IQ. And in situations, whether it's situational hitting, whether it's knowing where to go with the cutoff, little things like where to be on a double play, you're trying to teach these guys at the major league level how to do those things.
Well, we've seen when it comes to the offense and the everyday lineup, we've seen Trevor Story go down, which was huge for this baseball team. Rafael Devers didn't look good at the plate last night as he battles through knee, shoulder, what have you, injuries. How concerning is it? It's April 18th, and he's having to fight through injuries this early on.
Yeah, it's early for all that. And Tyler O'Neill, who was leading the American League in home runs, who was, you know, the one shining example of an offseason move that was paying dividends, he's day-to-day right now after that gruesome collision with Devers. Still not out of the woods on a concussion. And if it's a concussion, we all know, you know, that can linger. I mean, you just don't know. So we'll find out. He's not going to be in the lineup today, I'm told. So, yeah, it's a lot at once. The Story thing, though, man, I don't know about you, Rochi. I don't ever remember one injury deflating a team as much as the Story injury did. I mean, I really can't think of another example of that. It was like the whole team lost its defensive confidence as soon as he went down, because he was the guy who'd become the leader. And, you know, like Lou Merlone said, the professionalism and calmness he shows was contagious. You know, Devers was a better third baseman with Story next to him, and guys worried less about things because they knew Story was going to cover up a lot of stuff. And he goes down, you know, 1 week into the season, and it was no coincidence. The next inning, the Red Sox made 2 errors and went on that run of making all those errors. So that's a tough one because he's out for the year. You know, he's not coming back through those doors, to paraphrase Rick Pitino. But they don't, you know, they're going to have to patch it together, because it's April. You got 150 games left. You got to figure it out.
All right. Well, here's to more sub 2 hour games. I don't know if it's going to happen right away again, but
Listen, you can have all the analytics in the world, but there is no sweeter number in baseball than 149. Win, lose, whatever it is. But give me 149 every night.
Exactly.
Did you get accused like it was someone nervous in your house? There was a burglary going on. So at 10 o'clock and you kind of break into the house?
Yeah, it's funny. We had friends in town from Maine who were at the game, and they left like in the 7th inning to beat the traffic, and they wound up in all the traffic. By the time they got to the car, the game was over.
Well, they're still in rush hour.
Yeah. That's right. People were still leaving Raytheon on 128. It was all clogged up.
Yeah. All right, Tom, appreciate the time. Tom Caron, host for Red Sox studio coverage at Nesson. Appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll talk to you again.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See you, TC.
There he goes. Tom Caron. Good stuff. Very, very positive.
Today's a good day. If just get on, StubHub or wherever you want to get on and just wander. If I was a college student, taking the afternoon off and I'm going over to Fenway.
What would you do for food?
Huh? I'd have a couple dogs.
A couple of
Yeah.
Do you have a beer?
No. Just,
why not?
Have a diet soda, whatever. You don't want it because it's early. It's during the day. You just want to relax and have a good time. Keep score.
When's first pitch?
1:35.
So, as a college student, you would not go over at. I know you'd get there early.
Yeah.
Like 1:15, right?
If you can,
grab a dog or two. Along about the third inning, it's maybe 2:15. You wouldn't enjoy a cold beer.
It depends on the day, warmth, clouds, whatever. I'd maybe go to get a dunk. Just have a good time. Keep score. It'd be great.
All right. You're going to be responsible for an email or two today. I don't care if they're personal emails. I don't care if they're in your spam folder.
Oh, I have to find an email?
Yes. That is part of. Now, Ryan Johnston, I think he's lukewarm on this whole segment.
What, the email bit?
Yeah, the email segment.
I love the email bit.
Okay. All right.
I just don't.
Joe Murray refuses. Joe Murray won't do it.
I don't have a public email address, so I don't get emails to contribute to the email bit.
Is there any?
I can find something on Twitter. Let's do that.
Okay, you can do whatever you want.
Thanks.
Just one contribution each is all I ask.
One, I'll give you a contribution right now. For Celtics fans thinking about the start to the series on Sunday, Sham Charania says this morning, Jimmy Butler expected to be out at least a few weeks.
Ooh.
He's going to have an MRI today to confirm that, but that's the expectation of the team is he's going to miss some time.
I was thinking it was, honestly, I thought it would be going the other way because he did play a full game last night, and the first report was, we're hoping, and then it changed to, they fear an
MCL injury.
MCL.
And, he said just a few minutes ago, the expectation is Jimmy Butler will be out in multiple weeks.
Okay. All right. More on that, and, of course, the email bit happening next year on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the email bit. Now, Ryan Johnston claims to not have a public email, and we've investigated this, and he is right. I don't know how you work here from essentially, were you here like day one of the sports?
I was hired either 1 day or 2 days before the station went on the air.
Okay, so
the first time.
How you do not have a Sports Hub email address is beyond.
I have a corporate email address, but I do not have, I guess I never got Johnston at 985thesportshub.com.
I'll give out the corporate one. It's the same.
Ryan.Johnston at bbgi.com.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's easy to remember.
Ryan.Johnston at BB. That's Bravo Golf India.
Belichick.
At Bill Belichick.
Go
Belichick.
inside.
Belichick. All right. So there's that. Dan O'Brien can be reached. And I think more complaints about this show need to be directed to him. None to me. They will. Well, seriously, what do I need with the complaints? Yep. Okay. You're the producer of the show, Dan. You produce this show. The show is a Dan O'Brien production. Okay, so if you have overall complaints,
it's in the credits, by the way. If you watch on TV or YouTube,
yes,
it says towards the you start rolling credits when you're saying goodbye, and you see a Dan O'Brien,
Dan O'Brien
and then
production,
a dog or something go whoop at the end.
So direct them
with the shaka. Give a little shaka.
Mr. Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Dan O'Brien, which you've got a bit of a troubling email address. What is it?
D O'Brien, DOBRIEN at 985 the Sports Hub, 985thesportshub.com.
Why is that troubling?
Because when you spell his name, you got to throw that apostrophe in there.
No, I would not.
You don't have the apostrophe?
Not in an email address, no.
Yeah, no one ever does.
But in life you do.
In life, but you know what? It's a conundrum because on credit cards you can't put the apostrophe, so they're like, what's the name on the credit card? It is not. So oftentimes the first thing after I say my last name, I say, could have an apostrophe and it could not.
Why don't you drop the apostrophe?
Sure.
It's pretentious.
Okay.
And then you just get rid of it altogether.
All right.
It stands for the F, though. It's Dan of Brian.
Oh. Did you know that, Dan?
Did not. I really did not. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
I heard one of the most frustrating and angering conversations I've ever heard as an adult human boy listening to this show. It was toward the end of last year, and it was Fred and probably Wallach sitting here arguing about last names and what they mean. Like, anyone named Jackson, what is that supposed to mean? That he's the son of Jack? Yeah.
Yep.
That's how they got that name.
Oh.
Miller. Oh, so you're saying that anyone who last name Miller came from somebody who was worked in a mill? Yes.
Yeah.
That's how names.
There used to be a lot less people. They just named them, according to jobs.
Son of Tom. So anyone named Ryan Johnston, so one of your ancestors had a father named John. Yes. That's how last names work.
How do they get Roach?
I don't know. That's your name.
Bug?
It must.
Yeah.
It's got to be French, isn't it?
Check in, we don't check out.
Is it French?
I'm Irish. People always ask me that. How you pronounce it? That's usually the first thing they say to me. And I say, it's spelled differently, but it's like a bug.
Huh. But you don't know where the name came from or anything else. You haven't investigated it?
My dad went over to kiss the Blarney Stone. He has relatives over there.
Okay, but did he ask about his name?
I don't know. I know I didn't.
According to Ancestry.com, it is a French name, topographic name for someone who lived by a rocky outcrop or crag, from the Old French for rock.
So it is French.
We don't call you Rock like Tim Raines.
Gosh, back in the days of, remember Tank, the old sportscaster for the old WBCN?
Oh, yeah,
They had the wonderful idea of the FM station that I worked on. You got to come up with a nickname. And the general manager said, let's call you Rock in the morning. I'm like, come on. No. Lasted for like a month.
Well, I told this a couple of weeks ago, and I worked at the Planet 96.3 in Detroit. The program director wanted me to go by Sonic. I'm like, I'm doing Saturday overnights from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. I could call myself crap sniffer.
Right.
No one's going to care. No, you have to be Sonic. And I convinced him to go with Cosmo instead, which fit in with Seinfeld at the time. Here's an email. Hardy, first time, long time. Where can I hear the Waldick song? Haven't laughed that hard in a long time. We got sent a song, a new John Wallach song.
That was good.
Do you have it, Dan? We're not going to hear the whole thing, but...
Do I have it? I have it on auto replay.
Yeah.
On loop. There we go.
Dial.
Here's the post.
All right,
That's my favorite part is definitely he flew to Seattle and he has the cap to prove it.
Right, yeah.
Very creative.
I also like the I think it's coming up. I like the line where he just says, John Wallach is a bird. All right. Now we got it. Thank you very much.
I have something to contribute to the email.
Thank you.
I have
Finally.
a listener
Thank
who
you.
says, since no email, here's a suggestion. Rather a miss for Hardy. You should have gotten Maz to do Mickey Mouse for the Disney bit, they say.
I suppose.
It's a little on point. I don't know.
Yeah, earlier we had the game that we played with Dan Roach where we had the actual, voice of Disney asking the Disney trivia questions, and the Mickey Mouse voice.
Hi, Dan, it's Mickey Mouse.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that was good.
That one was actually a little too good. The Goofy voice.
Hi there, Dan. It's Goofy.
Okay. But the one that really sold it was the Donald Duck voice, which was so spot on.
Hi, this is Donald Duck. This well-known water ride is a mountain of splashing good fun.
He sounds like the seagull in Little Mermaid. Buddy Hackett, right?
Now, Donald Duck does have a bit of a speech impediment, but I'm not sure that it's that one.
Somebody did email and said, I think Nick got Donald Duck and Daffy Duck confused. Look, we knew what we were doing when we recorded that, okay? I was back there, Phil Spector. I was back there, Phil Spectoring that thing. At one point, I did pull a gun on him to get him to do it the way I wanted him to do it. So, look, to his credit, he was my John Lennon. He performed when he needed
great.
to.
I have a contribution.
Again, finally, thank you.
All right, I got in a car accident on the way to the studio and was late once. Johnston had to do headlines for me. Ryan was nice about it, but I still feel bad for wasting his time back in 2015. We were talking about being early to do things.
All right.
And being on time, and you like to be late. And he said, Ryan replied, I still think about that every day.
That is Sean Silver.
Yeah, the Silver Fox.
Oh, I don't like to be late, and I'm not late. I'm on time. I'm a minute or two early. That's enough. Anything earlier than that, I feel like I am wasting time by standing around and waiting. And then I start to resent those who are not there, like I started to resent Gary Tangway yesterday. Because I was there a few minutes before the start of the 4 o'clock class, and he strolled in 30 seconds before 4. I don't want to build up resentments.
Okay.
That's it.
And then the other one I have is Kendra Middleton absolutely refuses to touch Toucher's mic when she was here.
Yes.
She had to clean that. And then it followed that with pictures of us, and it said, WTF is Hardy wearing?
What?
I don't know. That's what all it said.
The hat throws some people off.
The collar that's like a picnic table
basket.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a checkered inside of the hood.
It's like the
of a
line.
zip-up
It's
hoodie.
the liner. It's kind of like that Seinfeld episode where he buys the leather jacket or the suede jacket, but it's got that liner inside. It's not really. Yes. You don't really want to show off.
Gingham is what it is, according to T-Bone, producer of the Midday Show. You want to give out your email, T-Bone? T. Morgan at 985thesportshub.com. You can email him too. Anything. And then he'll participate in the email bit. All right, good stuff. Contributions from everybody. I appreciate it. I got contributions from Gary Tangway's students yesterday. They gave us segment ideas, none of which we actually got to today, but we'll do a segment about the segment ideas and maybe pick one for tomorrow. That's part of the stack, which is coming up next on Toucher and Hardy.
Sports Hub headline.
It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Press conference in its entirety starting at 10 o'clock here.
Yes,
on the
we
Sports Hub.
must be out on time
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
We have been
Tom
instructed by Tom T-Bone Morgan.
Yeah.
that
Tom
we-
said, listen, you got to do this. You can't be talking then. You got to get out at a certain time.
This has been discussed before on this radio station, a battle royale among Sports Hub staffers, on-air and producers alike. I think Zoe, due to sheer size, is going to make it past, whatever his first round seeding is. But a lot of people have the finals being T-Bone versus Lockhart, just in terms of who's going to, make it in the death match battle to the end. You don't feel this way, Dan? Lockhart's got a lot of people.
I didn't know there was a death match knockout round.
The discussion's been going on for years.
Yes, when Mike Flynn worked here, we had big Mike Flynn, offensive lineman in the NFL.
Right.
Other very Wiggy, all these people.
Right.
Yes, I didn't know it was continuing.
But right now, it's like two young, vibrant, physically fit. So it's like, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Because you don't know.
Because I fear Tom.
A little bit.
We all do.
The show that you used to work on, at the end of that show, there was this, Stone Temple Pilots music that would start.
Sure.
And then you guys instinctively knew that it was 32 seconds to the end of that to where you got out.
It's just like this show with Ass Man.
Exactly. They disregard.
The show ends immediately as soon as that starts to play. They never talk for like 5 more minutes.
So what time were you off today?
Oh, Rochi, just leave now. Seriously. I said to you 55.
Exactly.
There's a clock on the wall.
There's a clock up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, 55. We'll get out.
Because you know what? You're not coming back tomorrow.
I know
go.
I'm not.
Okay. Hardy, continue.
Crouch.
I was just going to point out that I thought it was odd when the first time sitting here, I heard Fred speaking past the end of Ass Man. I thought that wasn't allowed. You are back there timing this thing out to a T. So when you start it, when it ends, the show has to be over. But Fred doesn't always pay attention to that, does he?
Never.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But you did. You were good. Now you work in this environment and you're bad.
Bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yesterday I was at Gary Tangway's class that he teaches at Emerson. And right when I thought I was going to get to leave, Gary said, "Here's an idea. Let's help Hardy fill out the missing blocks on tomorrow's show. Let's shoot around some ideas. No bad ideas and brainstorming. Go. Shoot. What do you got?" And one of the first suggestions was, "Would you ever talk about the trial that's taking place in Canton?" I said, "Terrible idea. No." No, I live in Canton, have not spoken about it, would not speak about it, will not speak about it. Thank you. Next. Somebody brought up the idea that the Celtics' first-round playoff opponent could be their toughest before they make it to the NBA Finals. I think it was a consideration when you thought maybe they'd be facing off against a healthy Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat.
Right. Yeah, things kind of changed on that front last night.
Yeah.
So either they get the Bulls, who are 39-43, or you get the Heat without Jimmy Butler.
I think that was Jackson who came up with that idea.
That's not really his fault.
No, it really isn't. There was a segment idea proposed yesterday about an artist performing at Coachella, kind of. Apparently, this is a Japanese pop star who performs via hologram. But now the story is coming out that it won't be an actual hologram, or wasn't a hologram at Coachella. And on this North American tour where tickets are going for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, it's going to be more of like just a video screen situation. And people are pissed because it's not the full concert experience. To which I say, you'd pay for the hologram.
You mean you don't pay for this?
Hatsune Miku. Not a real person, but a combination of software program and virtual animated character.
If you're on the Wikipedia page, do you see how many songs they have been credited with?
No.
Almost 100,000.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Okay.
I said, okay, that's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll do something with that. And we just did.
There you go.
All right. Coachella crowd left disappointed as hologram singer fails to appear. No kidding. The beloved singer was reduced to a two-dimensional image. Unlike human performers, the transition from 3 to 2 didn't entail a tragic demise, just lines of computer code. The culture is lost. WTF is this. Imagine paying $500, and one of the artists who wanted to see was Miku, and they pull out the 150-inch school PowerPoint screen. And that's what it was. It's like just a big screen.
On a previous tour stop, it was indicated when that hologram did not show up that all of the equipment had been forwarded onto the Coachella performance. So now people are smelling a rat saying, wait a minute, this is not happening at any tour stop.
It didn't happen anywhere, and maybe that's going to be the case going forward. So
I think I wouldn't even ask questions. I would just start swinging if I was there.
I mean, there's other ways to, chemically enhance your enjoyment of any concert, and I think you have to have something going on in order to go witness that, which is fine. Go do that. If that's what you want to do, I can't imagine. But there are some people who just enjoy the music and want to go to that show to hear the music and to be part of that performance. All right, what time do we have to get out, Dan? 54. Thank you. I said Dan. He's not paying attention. Beatles in here now to join
two
us
Dans,
here.
but yes, Dan, 55.
Oh, I was saying to Dan Roach.
Oh, I was
Hey,
told
Roachy,
not to
what time do we
talk,
have-
so I just
He
shut
left
up.
already.
Yeah.
He really did. Ever since Dan O'Brien said he could leave. That's all right. Beatles here early for the crossover, which I actually asked you to come in for today. How you doing, Peter?
Hi. How you guys doing?
Excellent. How are you? You got Elliot Wolf. You're doing the presser at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, right at 10 a.m. It's the last chance to hear from Elliot Wolf before the biggest draft for the New England Patriots in 30 years. And as Ryan Johnston has been saying today, that in 7 days, the future of the franchise will be altered forever.
Well, I mean,
one way or the other.
Sounds like a new docuseries.
Did you do much on the Wickersham piece yesterday?
We did.
Okay.
Several segments.
All right. Yeah, we had him on this morning.
Yeah, I heard that.
What question did you want me to ask that I didn't ask? Because I know that this is what you do. You hear someone else doing an interview with someone, and you're like, ask him this.
I would have texted
ask him
you.
that.
I don't think you missed anything.
Okay.
I did enjoy your question about the book, about whether or not you think that would be a good book. And I felt like Wickersham was being too kind to Bill Belichick in saying that would be a good book. Bullet points and and philosophy on leadership and all that. And it won't be the first of its kind. You can read these books from many different coaches who have written books over the years. Read a Mike Krzyzewski book if you want.
You know what would be really fun is if Belichick released the Wickersham book in context. Like he just re-released Wickersham's Patriots book and put his own notes in the margins.
Great idea.
What Bill should do is take the Dynasty book and just go through and issue bullet points on things in there that he calls BS on. That would be the most fun.
That would be a good one.
No, this didn't happen. No, it went down like this.
Seriously.
Right?
Setting the record straight, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you make of Bill on McAfee yesterday?
I thought it was painfully boring.
No. Look, he's got personality and he's funny.
Yeah, he does. But the draft analysis was horrible. This is not going to be the thing that you use him for. The draft? You want to hear Bill Belichick talk about the draft?
Well, I would rather hear Bill talk about things that he was good at. Maybe scheming defenses.
Yeah. Talk to me about a game. Talk to me
planning.
about game planning. Talk to us about what happened in a game on Sunday.
Right.
Do that.
Right.
That will be the sweet spot for Bill.
But
breaking down football games.
Seriously, to hear Bill pontificate about selecting wide receivers, but they started talking about wide receivers, I'm like, oh, God, no. No, don't do that. You couldn't do that.
I'm just still flabbergasted by the fact that Bill and Pat McAfee are hanging out together off hours, going to lunch, having martinis together.
When the
What do you think that conversation's
when
like?
the Patriots, let's say they take a quarterback at 3, will Bill give his opinion of that quarterback?
That's a good question, Dan. I don't know if he will. Will he give an honest opinion of
Right.
it? Right? In the sense that if he thinks it's a terrible pick, will he say it?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Don't like him.
But he's not the type that's going to say that anyway about any team's pick. That's just not what he's going to do.
When he says that the guy can make all the throws, we'll know.
And if we're inclined to believe that he is still looking for a coaching job, forget about next year, middle of next season. If somebody is going to, bail really early on a coach and try and get Bill, as Wickersham said earlier, before there's a bidding war, is he really going to give you an honest assessment of a team's draft strategy and what they did and what they need if he thinks that maybe there's a chance he's coaching against that team or for that team in this upcoming season?
Right. If he's still looking for employment in the league, he's going to have to be careful about what he says.
Absolutely.
Right.
Simply put.
But I know.
I used to laugh when Matt Millen, as you would know, Hardy, when Matt Millen used to go on TV.
So good on radio and TV.
After he was done, ruining the Lions, he would go on TV and talk about like the work and roster building of other GMs. And I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine being that GM, listening to this guy tell you about what you're doing wrong? You'd rather listen to any of us, the people with zero experience that are just fans that are just ranting and raving with no actual inside knowledge. You got to listen to Matt Millen tell you what you're doing wrong?
Is that the worst name you could say in Detroit?
It's right up there.
Yeah.
It's got to be, right?
That or another Matt. Patricia, you could just you could start a lot of not even arguments, just turn a room against you when you start talking about that. Look, that they've turned things around, and I was ready to hang myself coming in here the day after the NFC
Gotta go.
But now that people are coming back,
been a pleasure, Hardy.
We're gonna have a chance at it next year. We got like 20 seconds. You're fine.
Great Sox game last night, Rochi. If they were all that
was
fast,
tremendous.
the sport
tremendous
would be
Beetle.
The sport would
Loved
be doing
it.
well.
Loved it.
If we could watch all those games in a buck.
Yeah, and you can check out my stuff on WBZ. We'll get you ready for the draft and Patriots All Access and everything else. Thanks for having me this week here, Hardy. Good
Dan,
to see you.
Always good to have you on for the last couple of days. Ryan Johnston and I will be back tomorrow with Michael Holley. Zolek and Bertrand coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Bye.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Swim, golf, dine, and enjoy the one-of-a-kind experience you can only